and the invocation, and then I'd have Mr. Lible lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray together. Father, in your word you instruct us to pray in this way, hallowed be your name. And so, Lord, we come before you this morning in that mindset, in that spirit. Lord, we give you praise and honor you to be the great creator, the one who made us and formed us, the one who has guided us and led us to this point, the one who cares for us and blesses us when we follow in obedience to your commands. And so, Lord, we do acknowledge you to be our sustainer and our redeemer, and we give you great thanks. Lord, I give you thanks for the opportunity to be here in this assembly this morning. I thank you for the privilege of living in a free land, a land where we can speak our minds openly and express our views and opinions and work together for the common good. Lord, I thank you for these men and women who have dedicated themselves to service, Lord. I pray for guidance and direction and blessing in their life. And Father, I pray that you would make their work here truly productive. Lord, we ask for your continued blessing as we seek to be obedient to your word, and as we seek to serve just as the word commands us to do, to love one another and care for one another, guide and protect one another, especially those who are unable to protect themselves. And so, Father, guide us in this meeting and in these proceedings today. In the name of Jesus, our Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a chance to look over these minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of April 10th and the regular and both meetings on April 10th.
Okay,
I'll second it.
All right, we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those not, motion moves. We're going to take a recess, and we're going to open to the Port Authority. Okay. Again, that's an approval of the minutes on.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, so we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
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 We have any public comment on the Port Authority? Seeing none, we'll close that section, and we'll open for new business.
I have none, Mr. Chair. I have none.
I have none, sir.
I have none.
I have none, and so we have any old business that we want to discuss? Seeing none, we'll close that, and we will reopen our regular meeting, and with that, we're going to go to employee recognition, which will go to Mr. Suggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board of County Commissioners. Good morning. We're going to do something a little different here today, so bear with me. We're going to try to make this as smooth as possible. I'm sure we're going to stumble a little bit, but it's okay. We're going to start recognizing our employees a little bit more often here. We're going to do this quarterly. This is for those who have reached milestones in years of service with Putnam County. I think it's a very important and part of the message that we're trying to send the staff in the community, how much we appreciate our staff and for the good job and the good work that they do for our community. So at this time, if I could get all my Board of County Commissioners to please join me in front of the dais, and Mr. Downs as well from the clerk's office. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Main, if you join them, Ms. Papel, I'd like for you to be part of this. And those department heads, I have someone on the list this morning. I believe we have Mr. Stender, Chief Roe May, Mr. Powell, and Mr. Gast, and Mr. Tompkins. If you join us up front too, please. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to the Honorable Tim Parker, the Property Appraiser for Putnam County, for recognition of his employee, Mr. Donald Hunt.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the County Commission and the citizens of Putnam County for allowing me the privilege to recognize one of our employees for their years of service. Donald Hunt joined our office February 13, 2013 in the position of field appraiser. Donald has earned his Certified Florida Evaluator designation after completing the coursework and tests associated with the designation. We appreciate Donald's dedication to service as exemplified in his recent efforts to help Putnam County receive relief due to Hurricane Matthew. His certificate reads, Certificate of Appreciation. We hereby express our sincere appreciation to Donald Hunt for outstanding service and contributions to the citizens of Putnam County for 5 years and award this certificate from Putnam County Property Appraiser this 24th day of April 2018, Tim Parker, Property Appraiser. Several of his coworkers are present here today to help honor Donald. Please join me in congratulating Donald for his 5 years of service to the citizens of Putnam County.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. If we could get Ms. Lori Parker, our HR Director, up at the podium now. She's going to call out the length of service employees, starting with our 5 years length of service. What I'd like to do at this time, Mr. Chairman Goddard, if you would pass out the pins and the certificates. And Mr. Hunt, I believe we have one for you too, sir, so don't leave us if you don't have to. And go ahead, when you call your name out, please come up, receive your pin and your certificate, then please walk the dais here and get your congratulatories from these fine gentlemen up front and ladies up front, and then please hang around so we can get a group photo afterwards. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Lori.
We're going to start with the employees being recognized for 5 years of service. The first one on the list is Catherine Michael, if she could come up. Catherine is the GIS manager for IT department, and she has been here for 5 years. And she is... This is a certificate and a pin for you, and it just states that we hereby express our sincere appreciation and grateful recognition of your years of service, and this certificate is awarded by Putnam County Board of County Commissioners on this 24th day of April 2018. Thank you. The next person being recognized for 5 years of service is Adam Marquez. If he could come up. Come on, Adam. Adam is a crew leader with Public Works. Thank you. The next person with 5 years of service is Michael Woods. Michael is also with Public Works, and he's equipment operator too. And the last person being recognized for 5 years of service is Jean Colvin. Jean. Jean is a trades worker with General Services, as most of you know. Thank you, Jean. Next, we're recognizing employees for 10 years of service. I'm not sure if they're here or not because they work with Fire EMS and they're on duty, but let me check the audience. If Jake Tillett or Jeremy Ray, if they could step forward. Okay, well, Jake Tillett and Jeremy Ray both work with Fire EMS. Jake is a paramedic firefighter, and Jeremy Ray is a firefighter too with Emergency Services. Thank you. Next is our employees being recognized for 15 years of service. One is Billy Robbins. He's an equipment operator 4 with Public Works, and he's out sick today. So we'd like to recognize him for 15 years. And Lisa Suarez, if she could come forward. She's being recognized for 15. Lisa is the Enforcement Division Manager, and this is her 15th year with Putnam County. Thanks. Thanks, Lisa. And last but not least, we have an employee here who's been here 30 years. Yeah. James Robbins with sanitation, please come up. James is the landfill solid waste supervisor with sanitation. Thank you. And then the group picture, please. I don't know how we're going to squeeze everybody in, but yeah, you need to get in it.
If we could get the folks up front, the recipients, so we can gather up here, take a photo, show you our appreciation. Absolutely.
Gene, I want you to.
Thank y'all so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, if we could continue on with customer service recognition.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. We'll give him a second. Commissioners, thank you folks for indulging me in that this morning, and I want to thank all the constitutionals that were here as well. I think this is a step in the right direction for us here in Putnam County to let our staff know just how much we really do appreciate the service that they give us, and to have someone here 30 years is a tremendous accomplishment. So that was, take great pride in that, absolutely. We're going to move on to item C on the agenda, which is customer service recognition. We've got 5 individuals on this list. If I could get Mr. Mike Brown, Ms. Pam Washington, Ms. Kathy Napier, Mr. Bob Crane, and Mr. Donald Peckham to join me here at the podium. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, fellow citizens of Putnam County, these individuals that you see in front of you this morning have received accommodations from our citizens from Putnam County for coming in and needing assistance here in Putnam County. And these folks have gone above and beyond the call of duty and service to provide excellent, outstanding customer service to those folks. We've received written notification from the folks that want to recognize people here today. And I just want to say, as a county administrator, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and all citizens, thank you all for the service that you are providing to the customers of Putnam County. Your department head should be very proud of you, as I am, as well as the commissioners. And just want to say thank you so much for being a part of our team and doing the things that make us look good every day. You know, you are the reason why we're successful, so thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Give a minute to everybody sit down, and then we're gonna.
And last but not least, Mr. Chairman, we got one more recognition this morning. This is for your Employee of the Quarter. Mr. Manning, would you please join me at the podium, sir? I am going to turn this part of the presentation over to Mr. Stacy Manning, our county attorney. Stacy, thank you so much for doing this.
Sure. Can I ask Tabitha Lassiter to come forward, please? Tabitha, as you know, Tabitha is my legal assistant, and she has been chosen as the Employee of the Quarter by a committee of employees here at Putnam County. for the third quarter fiscal year 2017-2018. She started with the county in 2000 and has held positions of Staff Assistant 2, Codes Enforcement Officer, Executive Assistant to the County Administrator, and of course now as my legal assistant. And I just want to say that I nominated Ms. Lassiter because she really goes above and beyond. And I noticed that from the moment I started working here in Putnam County when she was working for the county administrator. I was lucky enough to have lured her away from that position. Sorry, Mr. Suggs. But she goes above and beyond, not only as my assistant, but really to help everybody that she can. If she knows the answer or knows where to look for the answer, she's going to find it, whether that is for any of you all or for me or for any of the staff or for anybody out in the public. She does what she can for everybody. So I think this is really great and very much earned by Ms. Lassiter. So I want to present to you the Employee of the Quarter Award in recognition of exemplary service for the quarter ending June 30, 2018. Awarded this certificate from the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners, given this 24th day of April, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Manning, and certainly congratulations to Ms. Lassiter. Extremely well-deserved. I'll echo everything that Mr. Manning just stated up here this morning. She is certainly a source of information for us here. She's been here a long time, and she does a fantastic job. Commissioners, that ends our presentation this morning on employee recognitions. Again, thank you so much for indulging us this morning, and for the folks here in the audience for being so patient with us this morning. But these are your folks that work for you, and just want to give them an opportunity to shine one more time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now have the proclamation for the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. National Law Enforcement Week and Putnam County Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the week of May 13th, 2018 through May 19th, 2018 has been designated as National Law Enforcement Week. And whereas the day of May 10th, 2018 has been designated locally as Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day. And whereas Putnam County has dedicated law enforcement men and women serving our county under difficult, stressful, and often dangerous circumstances. And whereas law enforcement officers are our guardians of life and property, defenders of the individual's right to be free, warriors in the war against crime, and dedicated to the perseverance of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Whereas Florida and the municipalities within Putnam County desire to honor the valor, service, and dedication of its own law enforcement officers, comprised of city, town, county, and state law enforcement agencies. Now, therefore, be it recognized and proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that the week of May 13th, 2018 through May 19th, 2018 be recognized as National Law Enforcement Week, and that May 10th, 2018 is proclaimed Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day. Be it further proclaimed that the citizens of Putnam County are urged to show their support and appreciation of our law enforcement officers who give their lives to protect and serve the communities by attending a county-wide law enforcement memorial service to be held Thursday, May 10th at the Ravine Gardens State Park in Palaca. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of this proclamation.
I'll second that.
Have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion moves. Okay, our next one will be our proclamation for sexual assault awareness. And Mr. Commissioner Pickens, would you read that?
Yes, I will, Chairman Goddard. Mary, you coming up front? Okay. Okay, proclamation recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in the community. And whereas statistics show 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men have experienced completed rape or attempted rape in their lives. And it is estimated that 67.5% of rapes go unreported. And whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to change the shocking reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before the age of 18. Whereas on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted during their time in college. Fewer than 5% of completed or attempted rapes against college women were reported to law enforcement. And whereas 1 in 3 women experience physical sexual violence by an inmate partner, and whereas the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign is Embrace Your Voice, the campaign challenged us to recognize the power of both our individual and collective voices to create a culture of respect and equality and safety in our homes, our schools, our businesses, and our community. We know that sexual violence thrives when it is not taken seriously and victim blaming goes unchecked. Let us all join in using our voices to prevent sexual violence by believing survivors, challenging victim blaming, refuting myths about rape, teaching healthy boundaries, and respecting the boundaries of others. And whereas we join advocates and communities across Putnam County, Florida, embracing our voices to prevent sexual violence, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. We all know survivors of sexual violence. They are our friends, our family, our neighbors, and coworkers. They are us. Working together, we can raise awareness, change attitudes, and help prevent sexual assault. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners hereby declares the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Putnam County and calls upon all citizens, community agencies, civic organizations, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation to educate the community, thereby preventing sexual assault and strengthening the communities in which we live. Be it further resolved that the Board of County Commissioners participates and supports all persons in making a conscientious effort to prevent sexual assaults. Done, ordered, and adopted this 24th day of April, 2018. I move that we accept this proclamation.
Second.
Okay, got proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. It's, sounds unanimous. Thanks.
Just a couple things. Behind me or with me are the individuals who are part of the Putnam County Sexual Assault Response Team. So part of Department of Health, the Office of the Attorney General, we've got the Sheriff's Office, we've got the Police Department, and also the Lee Conley participates and many others as part of this response. This is the one team for sexual violence that is housed in a county health department as well, which speaks highly of the issue. I don't know how else to put it. It's something that we need to address. So one of the things that I'm asking you is that tomorrow is National Denim Day. It is the 19th year that it's celebrated as a response against an overturn in the Italian Supreme Court of an assault rape case, because they blame the woman because she was wearing jeans that must have conspired to be raped, of course. So one of the things that I asked for you is that so all of the women in the legislature in Italy the next day showed up in jeans to the legislature as a form of protest. And you can protest verbally or you can protest quietly. In this way, I'm going to ask you to protest quietly and verbally by wearing your jeans. If you've got teal is the color for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, so if you'll wear those. And if you'll send pictures to me and we will publish them for your support, but I appreciate that. When you participate in Denim Day, you make it possible for more sexual assault survivors to reach out and find help. You promote prevention through education so that sexual violence does not occur. You encourage institutional and societal change. And the more powerful is you make a powerful statement without saying a word. And as I said, the motto for this year is let your voice be heard. We also want to invite you on Thursday from 4 to 6. We're having our open house for community information at the Children's Advocacy Center. We work really closely with adults and children as well, and so you'll see some of their artwork and some of their expressions of how they're going through their trauma. So we encourage you to visit us. Thank you for your support. Well, you know, I'm short, so it doesn't really matter where you sit.
Make it happen.
Mr. Chairman, while we're getting reorganized, on behalf of the request by Ms. Mary Garcia, the county administrator is going to go ahead and make it an official invitation for those staff members that would like to wear jeans and teal tomorrow.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Most
much.
definitely.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ben Bates?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before we move on to the next, could I have a point of privilege here? On the last proclamation with the sheriff's office, Captain Rose is in the audience here, and if you would come down, bring Major, yeah,
Greenwood.
he's not, Major Greenwood, could you come be a part? Thank you. Okay. Captain Rose and Major Greenwood are filling
Better
in.
get
for-
your picture,
They want your
buddy.
picture.
I don't know why.
Gentlemen, please remain at the podium for just a second.
Captain Rose, if you'd like to comment about the goings-on at the Sheriff's Department with our sheriff and where he's at today, I think that
Sure.
that's very important that we recognize what's happened.
Sure.
Okay.
On behalf of the sheriff and the colonel, we appreciate the proclamation from the chair and the fellow commissioners. Unfortunately, both of them could not attend this morning because they are attending funeral services for the Gilchrist County deputies who were murdered last week. So again, we appreciate the proclamation and we appreciate your support for local law enforcement. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see if we could do a moment of silence, if we could all stand in honor of those men that were killed.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. That's, is Mr. Ben Bates here?
Mr. Martinez is.
Have a 9:30 certain.
Okay, Mr. Martinez?
Have a 9:30 certain. Public hearing on the
Good morning.
Good morning. We're not quite ready since my two colleagues are missing in action. Robert Mills is the presenter, and Ben Bates is bringing the books to give to you. So if you please, wait a few minutes for us.
We will.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
we,
sir.
we do have a 9:30 certain public hearing.
Yes, sir.
It is item, where is it? Item 15 on your
Item
agenda.
15, yes. Okay. Well, then let's move to our 9:30 certain public hearing. Okay, is that, that'll be Public Works.
Morning, Commissioners. Press Tompkins, Public Works Director. This is a follow-up to what we did on the Moorhaven Trail. It was discussed at our Transportation Committee. It was decided that we would turn this property back over to the actual property owners, and this is the public hearing to do that today.
Okay. So is there any public who wants to speak on this? Any in the public, please come forward, give your name, your address.
My name's Carter Bailey. I live in St. Augustine, but it's the property that y'all want to deed back to me.
Yes, sir.
My question is, I mean, why was it taken in the first, why did you request it in the first place?
That one I can't answer. Mr. Tompkins, can you answer that question?
Sometimes we do get requests from residents to turn their roads over to the county or trails, whatever it is. I admit we probably were a little bit overzealous in this. And when we brought it to the board, it was decided that I think there's like 1 or 2 property owners or 3 property owners on this road. And it was not in the best interest of the county to take this into our maintenance system at this time.
Yes, sir. That's the way I understood it. Please go ahead.
I made no request, and I think the other, Pam Chansey didn't make a request. But that being aside, the actual damage to the road is being caused by Moorhaven Trail, and it's being caused by the runoff, which we've discussed before in the last 2 transportation meetings. I was told that y'all were going to repair those damages to our driveway, to the culvert, before you were going to vacate the deed. And I went out there today, and nothing's been done.
Okay, again, I'll have to have Mr. Tompkins.
Yes, sir. We did do some work out there. We were scheduled to do more work. This rain's put us behind in doing it. We are doing corrective action on the actual Moorhaven Trail to prevent the runoff from going down this other portion of the road. And I will assure the board that will be done just as soon as we can physically get out there and do it when the weather allows us to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question.
Yes, sir.
If we vacate this road, does that mean it's turns into a public road, or does it just mean that, what does that mean? Does that mean that we can no longer work on it because it's private?
Yes, sir. It would turn back into a private road and we would no longer be responsible to do any maintenance on it.
Well, I remember when we made the commitment to this gentleman that we would fix that road before we made it private. Okay, well, if we pass this today instead of tabling it for a further meeting, wouldn't that mean that it turned to private and it would make it illegal for us to go and work on that road?
If I may, Mr. Manning is working on this also, and we have some other documentation that goes back to the property owners. We can hold that documentation until we physically get it done. Like I said, we were trying to get it done. This weather just kind of knocked us for a loop. And I'll assure you it will be done. We had it scheduled just 2 days ago, and we just couldn't get it done.
Press, I'm not trying to be critical. Please don't take this wrong
No, I
at all. It's just that I didn't want to do anything illegal either.
Right.
So, Mr. Manning, do you think that if we pass this today, that we could hold the paperwork and keep it in the county, to keep the county ownership until this culvert, I think it was a culvert, wasn't it?
It was a culvert.
Yeah, until this culvert's repaired. I know that we approved the repair in the transportation workshop.
No, I think in this instance, it would be best not to. It'll be better to to move this to a future hearing until Public Works is able to complete the work on the road, because once the resolution is approved, if approved today, then that effectively does vacate at that point in time, so.
How much time do you think you would need to do this, Press, barring another
according-
rain event?
Well, it has to be done as a public hearing, a time certain public hearing, so I don't know if we have enough time to advertise it for the next meeting. But we can certainly get it done, hopefully in the next week or two.
We could continue it to the next meeting and not have to re-advertise that. It's been advertised for this meeting, and the continuance would be in public.
Mr. Chairman, I move we continue this item to the next regularly scheduled Board of County Commissioners meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And
Okay.
would that also be at 9:30?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. I'll add that.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. My only problem is that, with it out, if it does get vacated back again, what if the county drainage causes the problem again? I mean, that there's no assurance that it won't happen again, and you've been out there trying to prevent it before.
The only thing I can tell you is give us a call. You know, that's about it. We will do everything we can to correct the problem.
Okay. And the repairs, what are you planning on doing to the culvert? I mean, it's in pretty bad shape.
Well, we're analyzing that now, I'll have to get with my road superintendent on that.
Can I get some feedback from what's going to be done? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, we have a
Yes, sir.
transportation
No,
workshop
sir.
again this afternoon. I
Yes,
think
we
that
are.
would be the proper place to have this discussion.
That way you can
if y'all
discuss
could
that.
make it to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
Okay. Now we'll move to the presentation, Keep Putnam Beautiful.
Good morning, Chris.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Kristen Mitchell. I'm the new director of Keep Putnam Beautiful. I want to apologize for missing last meeting. A misunderstanding on my part, and I am very sorry, and I appreciate the opportunity to be back here again. My primary purpose for coming today is to announce the upcoming community event on May 19th. Keep Putnam Beautiful will be facilitating a countywide cleanup. For those in the listening audience not aware, Keep Putnam Beautiful is a nonprofit organization affiliated with Keep America Beautiful. Our mission is to inspire and educate people to take action every day to improve and beautify their community environment. We do this through community gardens, the Adopt a Road programs, litter prevention education, recycling programs, beautification projects, and this once-a-year community cleanup. So far, we've seen a very good response by the citizens of Putnam County to not only come out and participate in the big cleanup, but to continue to make a positive change in their communities year-round. Keep Putnam Beautiful has also enjoyed the generous support of our county officials with the past cleanups, and we're looking forward to that continued support this year. I've brought some flyers with me that I would like to pass on to you, and it gives information about how to sign up for our county cleanup. I would ask today that you would help me spread the word about this event to your districts. I'd also ask, if you have the ability, that you would participate as well. You can sign up for it at our website at keepputnambeautiful.org. You can bring one person, you can bring 100 people. We would love your support in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Any
Chris.
questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Good. I just want to welcome Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you.
And thank you. You come highly recommended, and we'll get off to a good start here. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much.
you. Mr. Torino, yeah, Jim, if now would be a good time if you wanted to come up.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Jim Triano from the St. Johns River Water Management District. I appreciate the brief opportunity to present to you today. Just an update to good news you've already heard. Through our cost share program, on April the 10th, our governing board met in Brevard County, and after listening to a presentation by Deputy County Administrator, and as well as your Public Works Director. They approved 2 projects for Putnam County in a total of approximately $1.2 million. These are projects that are part of your regional wastewater treatment facility from Pico Road out to Dunn's Creek Bridge. And the 2 projects themselves are Horse Landing Road and LC Drive. And these are septic to sewer conversion hookups. So I want to congratulate again, as you did earlier today for your employees, I must congratulate and thank your Public Works employees and everyone that was involved in the application submission to our district. Again, it was a good application. Your project scored number 19 and 25. The district awarded 27 projects in the amount of $16 million district-wide. So, Mr. Chair, again, I'd like to congratulate Putnam County for another 2 great submissions, and we look forward to continued partnership between the district and Putnam County in eradicating. We're looking at up to about 500 pounds of total nutrients that are be going into our waterways, and this project, once completed, should be reducing that by 500 pounds total a year. So congratulations on great projects again.
And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just a deliverer of the message. I am just your messenger. The true folks out here, Press Tompkins and his folks. So
Thank you, Jim.
you're welcome very much. On behalf of our executive director and our governing board, is there anything else that you all want to pass back or anything that we can do?
Yes, thank
While I
you.
have the opportunity. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think Mr. Martinez.
are you ready? Okay. All right, now we'll move back up here to presentation, Building a Vibrant Community.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Feels like afternoon. Sorry I'm late. My apologies. I'm Robert Mills. I had the opportunity of living here in Palatka from 1988 to 1998. 1998, I moved down to Pensacola, Florida, and found that Escambia County was one of the poorest counties in our state. Our graduation rates in Escambia County were scraping the bottom of the barrel. Young people were exiting Escambia County and Pensacola. There's a man, a successful businessman by the name of Quint Studer, who owned a health care consulting company who lived in Pensacola. He sold his company for about $126 million about 4 years ago, and has now become his life's passion to help small, struggling communities become vibrant again. And I have had the opportunity to invite Quint to come be in our community. He's going to be with us on May the 4th, the morning of May the 4th at 9 o'clock here in this building. And I've come here today to respectfully invite each of you to come and be a part of that. He's going to spend the day before looking at our community, viewing Putnam County and Palatka, and then he'll be here the next morning to share with us some of his findings along with 2 other members of his team. In my estimation, this is an unequaled opportunity for us to have him. I would encourage you to Google Quint Studer and look at his resume and the things that he's done, and I believe that he's going to be able to bring some real value to us on May the 4th. So thank you for letting me share that with you, and I really encourage you to come and be a part of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Mr.
very
Chairman?
much. Yes, sir, go ahead.
May I have,
May
Mr.
I,
Mills,
please?
thank, yeah, Mr. Mills, thank you for making that presentation. I did Google him yesterday, and I also contacted my good friend and County Commissioner, Mr. Rob Williamson in Escambia County, who spoke highly of him and encouraged everyone when the man comes to town. He's a very humble and very generous man, and has a very good insight of communities. And so I would encourage all the listening public and people that are watching, avail yourself to come meet this gentleman. And we appreciate you bringing him to Putnam County, your whole team here. So thank you. Mr. Bates and Mr. Martinez, thank you.
Thank you for that endorsement. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes,
I
sir.
may also speak.
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
I had the opportunity last week to hear about this, and I received an advance copy of this book, and I read it Sunday. And if anybody cares about our community, they need to read this book. And they need to try to show up for that presentation on May 4th. It will be an interesting presentation. The differences between our community and what they did here from Pensacola to our community being Palatka is astonishingly the same. The process that they went through to get from where they were to where they are is astonishingly the same as been tried here before, but they were successful. I highly advise everybody to read this book if they get the time and show up for May 4th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mills, is that gonna be in this building or the River Center?
It's going to be here.
Okay, good, thank you.
Is May 4th, it's a Saturday, isn't it?
No, sir, that,
Friday.
It's a Friday. Okay, I'll go ahead and say I cannot attend. I will be out of town, but I appreciate your efforts and to give us this book and also to bring him to town. And I'll definitely read the book and look forward to his response. So.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, may I add something?
A second. Yes, sir.
This is truly a unique opportunity for us, our community. Robert didn't tell you, but this gentleman and his team normally charges somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $100,000 to look at a community and to give recommendations. And because of Robert's relationship with them over the years, he's come into our community, especially almost just coming out of a friendship and a favor to Robert. So this is a unique opportunity for us to take advantage of someone who has done it in Pensacola. And I agree with Mr. Turner and Mr. Harvey. I think this is a unique opportunity for us in conjunction with Representative Yoho's Project Putnam to really continue to move our community forward so we make it a better place for all of our citizens to live, work, and play. And I thank you for your opportunity and encourage you to read the book, and I think you will get as excited about this as we are.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Chairman, question for staff. Could we go ahead and film that presentation so we could make it available for others to watch it as?
I believe we could probably make that happen, sir, absolutely.
Thank you. All right, then we can put it on our website and people can watch it.
Is it okay with Mr. Studer if we do that, you think?
Yes, sir. I'll confirm that, but I'm almost positive.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if we could,
Sir.
Mr. Mills, thank you very much for using your friendship to further our community. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Mr. Suggs, are we ready for this next presentation?
I believe we are, sir. Mr. Powell, you ready? Mr. Powell, if you would just give them a brief introduction to what we were fixing to watch here.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. As you know, we took over animal control in 2014. Pretty much weren't sure of what we were doing when it was handed to us. I know we had a vision from Commissioner Liable and an area that he wanted to take this in, and then putting the staff in place to make part of this vision come true. So we've had to report numbers to the, the state required us reporting numbers, and WUFT in Gainesville went ahead and pulled reports from several surrounding counties and did a report on euthanasia rates in this region. And want to go ahead and show the news story on it and where we are now with our rates.
Florida law went into effect, requiring county animal shelters make it public record of how many animals are taken in, adopted, or put down. We spent the past 3 months following up on this data and requested public records from a dozen nearby counties. We found that some counties have made strides in bringing down their kill rates, while others continue to struggle.
Come on, Charlie.
Erica Spellman's new dog Charlie is one of about 1,800 dogs and cats that will be adopted from the Alachua County Animal Shelter this year.
I came in here the other day and I saw him and couldn't stop thinking about him, so I came back in and got him.
A 2013 Florida law requires county animal shelters to keep monthly records of how many animals they take in, adopt, and put down. During the past 3 months, we've collected this data from a dozen north central Florida counties to find out just how many animals have been killed at county animal shelters and which counties are keeping those numbers down. Our investigation found Marion County continues to have the highest kill rate, putting down more than 5,000 dogs and cats each year, more than half the animals they take in. That's compared to neighboring Alachua County, which only put down 268 animals last year, or 6% of its intakes. The average yearly kill rates for north central Florida counties range from 1 to 54%.
You don't have room to keep 8,000 animals, 9,000 animals a year. There's no room. There never will be. And unfortunately, some of those decisions have to be made.
We found rural counties tend to have higher kill rates because of fewer resources. But 3 small counties, Columbia, Suwannee, and Putnam, have made large strides recent years in reducing those numbers.
This is a little bit more capacity of what we have here.
Tom Barrett runs Columbia County Animal Services. Despite limited space and funding compared to larger counties, he refused to let the thousands of animals that came in last year to simply be put down.
That would mean 3,600 dogs and cats would have been killed last year. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'll find a way.
Columbia County has seen a 75% drop in euthanizations since 2014.
This is our adoption kennels.
Ending last year with a 23% kill rate. Barrett says that's thanks to keeping stray animal populations down in the area and
spay, neuter, spay, neuter, spay, neuter.
In Putnam County, kill rates are at an all-time low.
We have to have these listed within 48 hours.
Since Kevin Powell and his staff took over animal control from the sheriff's office in 2015, their kill rate has gone from more than 25% to only 1% last year, euthanizing just 17 animals. He attributes the success to private rescue shelters that take many of the animals.
Various rescues that are out there, being a no-kill shelter, they're willing to help us out.
In Suwannee County, the kill rates are also down. The county shelter has only put 19 animals down since September. Before that, the shelter had a kill rate of more than 30%, but that's when Megan Hale was hired as an animal control officer. In just 8 months, she's helped save countless lives.
I decided to start using rescues. So I reached out, I contacted several rescues.
Megan recently enlisted the help of Dr. Julie Levy, a professor at UF's College of Veterinary Medicine.
A great example is Suwannee County, which is a very small rural shelter with just a few staff, but they've pulled together volunteers from the community, local veterinarians, and their life-saving has skyrocketed this year.
And now, Marion County is also asking for her help.
I'm hoping Dr. Levy has those answers. She's going to be sending people down. They're going to spend days here and watch our operations and see if there's something we can do to fix those numbers.
While this problem may have a lot to do with cats and dogs, officials say it's a much larger issue.
Is it the county's problem? No. It's a people problem. That's what this is.
The only county to not fulfill our records request was Dixie. Officials there say they do not adopt out animals, so any animal brought in is either picked up by its owner or euthanized. Lafayette County says they haven't had an animal control in service in several years.
Wow. Moving. Yes. Commissioner Lible.
Spay, neuter, spay, neuter, spay, neuter. But no, thank you. Wow, and you guys, y'all supported this effort. Our animal shelter, Kevin, your staff, I know it was dropped in your lap, but you've done a wonderful job picking up the pieces, and you've gone obviously way beyond what expectations were, and I have to thank you. We appreciate it. Yes, this board.
I really thank the support of this commission. I know Commissioner Liable had a vision. We've met part of that vision. I know another part of his vision is an animal control shelter, and the support of this commission for this animal control shelter is going to be a really good thing for Putnam County. Our staff out there has done a phenomenal job bringing the animals in, how they do the intake, and preventing the spread of diseases to the animals that would increase the rate of euthanasia. Are working with the various rescues that are willing to go ahead and take animals from us. The donations we get, University of Florida, Dr. Hansen and Dr. Isa, they have been a tremendous partner in our shelter. They bring the students over. They do the free checks on animals. We also send our dogs and cats over to University of Florida for spay and neuter, which is free of charge. This by being a no-kill shelter. We also get support from Doc Tony, Jen from Pitt Sisters and the Tails program. First Coast No More Homeless Pets is another big partner in ours. As a matter of fact, First Coast No More Homeless Pets has donated 3 pallets of food to us, which is roughly 4,500 pounds of food. Now, we go back years ago when we had to beg, borrow, and do whatever we had to do to get food. Now we're in a position that, where do we store it? So these are organizations that are willing to work with us. University of Florida came in yesterday to the shelter and put on a class for the shelter staff on compassion fatigue. It's a real serious problem. Having to move the animals through there, the fatigue that they do, the constant beratement in the social media that they receive. So University of Florida came in and talked to them about that and resources that we have available for them to help with those situations. So I think we've come a long way from our first mega adoption in 2016 in Jacksonville to where we are today. And I really want to thank this commission for the support and our staff out at Animal Control for what they do. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
I was going to say, we want to thank you and your staff.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
And I'd like to recognize Lisa Suarez, if you would please
Absolutely.
stand. Since Lisa got assigned double duty from Codes Enforcement and Animal Services, she's not only recognized today, but one of our hardest workers and all our staff, and really a lot of the credit goes to you organizing these rescue groups Kevin speaks of. Our staff do not get paid most often to meet them and coordinate these kind of pickups, Saturdays, Sundays, national, state holidays. They're very dedicated. I can't say enough to thank you, Lisa, and your whole staff. They know who they are, and thank you for a great job, not a good job, a great job done. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I... And I too want to thank Lisa. She has been a large part of where we are today at the vision of you, Commissioner Liable.
I don't want any credit. That girl's
She's
right,
first. Taking that vision and moving it forward in this commission with the vision of the animal control facility. I thank you for that, getting the funding and starting to move the process forward with this animal control shelter. I know the animal control staff, Lisa, myself, we thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This time we'll move to public comment. And I'm going to start with Dr. Surrency. Your name, your address in 3 minutes.
What's that?
You did good.
David, tomorrow was Blue Jeans Day, not right.
Mr. Chair. Yes, sir.
After
That doesn't count towards my 3 minutes, does it?
Development Authority, Mr. Castleberry has a later appointment. But
Okay.
We'll slide through this. You
Mr.
okay,
Chairman, I'm sorry.
It's nice that you have a good attorney now.
It is, isn't it? Mr. Castleberry, you better defend yourself.
Complaining about Mr. Castleberry. I'll shut up now.
Mr. Chairman and Commission, Mr. County Administrator and your staff, thank you for having us today. I'm joined by, as a matter of fact, I'm Rick Surrency, Superintendent of Schools. I reside at 6003 East 4th Manor in Palatka. And I'm joined by 3 of our 5 school board members, David Buckles, Sandy Gilliard, and Kathy Jorgensen. So thank you for having us here. And I'd just like to take a minute and thank all of you for what you're doing for our county as you face many of the same challenges we face, especially your budgetary challenges. Secondly, I want to appreciate your close working relationship with the Putnam County School Board as we both work together to improve our graduation rates, our student achievement, and most importantly, keeping our students safe. I'd like to respectfully comment on the letter I received regarding your intent to withdraw the $200,000 parimutuel funds from the school district. Parimutuel wagering was first authorized in the state of Florida in 1931. The 67 counties all receive an equal amount, which is maxed out at $446,500. As a school district, we have been blessed that the county has shared the funds with the school district for at least the last 30 years. The Florida Parimutuel Wagering Act, pursuant to Chapter 550 Florida statutes, allows school districts to participate, and currently the vast majority of counties share with the school districts. As a school district, we are limited in the amount of funds we receive. Most money comes from the state and has been dismal at best over the last several years. Then a large portion comes from local taxes. We lack the ability to raise additional millage over the required local effort set by the legislature without going before the general public for a vote in the general election, which we tried in the past and have been unsuccessful. Our other voter allowed alternative is to ask for a penny or half-penny sales tax. But the county has a penny discretionary sales tax you've had in place since 2002 that the school district is not a party to. This has brought in over $60 million to the county's Better Place plan, but it limits our ability to raise taxes, to raise sales tax funds. Only 12 counties have higher sales taxes than Putnam, and we are at the norm at 7%, where 45 counties are currently at with the general sales tax rate. Our budget has been pounded over the past several years. Our retirement rate increased this year, and we didn't receive enough funds to cover that increased cost. We have cut tremendously over the past year, and there's not a whole lot of places left to trim. 80 to 85% of our budget is salaries and benefits, and the loss of the $200,000 parimutuel funds could equate to us losing 4 teaching positions or 8 classified positions, and this is something we do not want to do. I respectfully ask that you consider keeping the school district whole, and if you must cut, look to other areas. Please make a choice that is best for the students and staff of Putnam County and include this transfer in your 2018-19 budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any comments? Thank you. We are going into budget negotiations now.
Very good. Well, thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to working with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I say just a couple of things? It might be, I'm David Buckles, 650 Cedar Creek Road, Palaca, Florida. It might be to our mutual advantage to have Terry Suggs sit down with our superintendent and see if there are ways that we can work together so we don't reinvent different wheels for the same thing. We have categorical funds that we can use for certain things that we might not need, but it's because of the way the state funds it, is how you get the money and what you can do. You may be in similar situations, and there may be ways that we can work together to do the things that we looked at doing back in 2002 with the Better Place plan. And I don't know, I thought Kathy might say a few things, but I wrote at the request of then county commissioners. Chip, were you on the county commission in 2002?
I wasn't.
Okay, none of you guys were, but we wrote a vision plan for children. I did, and put it together with a lot of research. I recently brought it into the school board office, and I was initially under the impression the money would be bonded and everything would be done before the people that passed it died. But it's drug on for many years, and I understand it's nice to be able to do certain projects as they come available. But I don't know. I think it can be, there are a lot of things that we can do together mutually that can save a lot. I know that I got our lobbyist hooked up with Chip and one of the former county commissioners, and now you've got Southern Strategies working for you guys, helping you get money. And there's, we're currently in a relationship with St. Johns River State College that will be tremendously beneficial to this county and could help secure the future of us never losing that college to Putnam County.
And it just makes good sense with all the things that we've done together, from the donation of the land to the senior center, to the old Johnson School, to things that I could go on and on about. And Kathy, are you going to speak? No. Okay, then I could go on and on about the things we've done to mutually benefit the county, and it runs into the millions of dollars. But it was things that we needed for our kids as well. Every time you guys pave a road or you fix a road, you know, it may meet an emergency rescue vehicle getting to someone's house to save a child's parent, that saves trauma at school, and all that was in that vision plan report. And if you want to see that again, Rick has a copy the board members for reading, because we talked about everything from mental health structure to paving roads, and certainly recreation, libraries, the whole 9 yards. And I think it might be beneficial if you could read it again. And it's not a pat on my back, but I had a lot of school teachers and educators at the time support the district, the Board of County Commissioners in the passage of the Better Place Plan against my better judgment, because I didn't want to be seen as advocating for a tax increase, but I did it anyway. But we still can't survive without you guys. We need you. And so, Terry, if anything else, you and Rick can sit down sometime and see if we can beat our heads together. I appreciate that.
I will say just one sentence. It takes a village to raise our children, and our children are the future. And we do need your help.
Chair, if I could.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lible.
This has been a brutal session, this previous session, and there are goals and objectives both our boards are trying to reach here. And it will take a dialogue way past public comment that we can do. So this commissioner, I speak for myself, would love to start a dialogue in a workshop setting, and maybe we can go over some of these things, David. I wasn't an elected official then, but I was on the Better Place Plan Committee. Very familiar with it, familiar with your plan, and it could all use discussion, but we also have some goals, particularly lowering the county millage, that we're very serious about. And then after this session, you know, we feel that the obligation put on us, unfunded mandates, to arm our schools or, you know, bring security to them, is a backbreaker. It's going to be tough. And so it's going to take us having a very serious dialogue to come up with winning solutions for both our teams. But I welcome it. I do. Thank you.
Like you guys have the knowledge. I mean, I know each one of you very well, and I know you're all sharp guys, and you want what's best for our county just like we do. But, you know, we kind of think in different boxes, but, you know, we do overlap, and where we can.
Yes, we do.
We can utilize the same dollars, whether it's dollars we get that we could share, or dollars you get that we could, you could buy law enforcement, we could buy vehicles, we can figure out ways to do things that, but it needs to be done in a dialogue where you can sit down and really talk and have an attorney there and tell you what can.
And David, and all of you school board members, I said a brutal session. Leota Wilkinson's in the back of the room staring a hole through me from Representative Payne's office, but that office and Southern Strategies and our local effort in the legislature was excellent.
That's right.
These are all post-shooting events in South Florida that really turned us upside down. I want to clarify that.
Yes.
And we're going to have to deal with it.
Bobby's going to get better every year. He just, you know, every day he's getting stronger with.
That's exactly right.
So we're going to be very fortunate.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to the dialogue, and Mr. Suggs, I'll look forward to meeting with you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Keep getting Chip and Buddy Goddard mixed up.
I'm the one that has no hair. All right. Miss Nancy Taylor?
We need to get Mr. Castleberry up.
Okay. Yes. Yes, sir. So hold it just a second here, and we'll have Mr. Castleberry come up.
Mr. Chairman, if you like, do you need a motion to pull that one item from the consent agenda if, because he is on the consent agenda? If you do, I will offer that motion that we pull.
And I'll second it.
We go ahead and pull item P from the consent agenda.
Is there a vote on that?
Yeah, we got to vote.
All right. All right, so we've had a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go
You
ahead.
need a motion and a second. We need a vote.
Okay. So we have a first, we have a second. Do we have a vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, no.
Thank you, Commissioners. The Development Authority met in special session this morning. I was before you last month on the Development Authority bond offering for Seminole Electric. There was a slight change. It was originally going to be $125,250,000. Based on the market, they can sell the bonds at a premium, so it's going to be somewhat less than that. So the Development Authority had to do a new resolution that they passed this morning that said basically change it from $125,250 to up to $125,250. There is a resolution in your packet for the Board of County Commissioners to do the same. And that's really the only change. Still no liability of the Development Authority or the county, so we're asking for that new resolution to make that one change.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of that resolution.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a first, a second. All those in favor say
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Castleberry.
All right, now we will still continue with public comment, and we'll go with Nancy Taylor. Miss Nancy, if name, address,
Nancy
3
Taylor,
minutes.
101 Oakwood, 32112. I'm speaking this morning on behalf of some concerned citizens regarding agenda items, I think it's 11 and 12. There was a petition signed to the Board of County Commissioners, and it says, "Who can best cut our grass? We, the undersigned, are adamantly opposed to the proposed expansion of the road shoulder grass cutting county service. We demand the BOCC of Putnam County aggressively pursue contracting this entire service to private contractors. We contend this will save the county money and in keeping with the conservative principles of smaller government. Grass doesn't grow in winter. Why pay for this service when you don't need it?" So almost 40 people have signed that. Now, this is a proposal from those concerned citizens. We propose that the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners make a substantial effort to determine the most efficient method of mowing the right-of-ways of the county's paved roads. There are currently 2 methods being discussed. 1, perform in-house with county equipment and personnel. 2, contract the work to a private contractor. Both methods have been tried, but we don't see where a fair comparison has been made, and the effort to contract the work was abandoned too soon. We propose a pilot trial for both methods for a fair comparison. Select 2 similar sections of right-of-way and mow one section with in-house capability and contract the other. We understand there have been issues with the contracting of this service in the past. We encourage the county to work collaboratively with private contractors to develop a mutually beneficial contract. We believe it is important to remember that sometimes the benefits of contracting are immediately apparent, but competition over time provides the most efficient solution. We recommend these pilot trials be conducted before decisions are made to fully implement the county's proposal to purchase equipment and hire personnel. Sincerely concerned citizens, and today I am representative of them. Now, this is my opinion. It's not that. This has not been signed. This is me. Appearance is important, and the appearance of this mowing deal is that some folks decided, for one reason or another, that the county should take on the job of roadside mowing. They discussed it and decided what nice new equipment they would need. There not being funds budgeted for said equipment, they said they could amend the Better Place Plan to include these equipment purchases. And because there was an existing bid proposal, they could piggyback off of that and wouldn't even need to put the equipment out to bid. Put it on the agenda and we're good to go. Done deal. That is the appearance or perception of what transpired, and for the most part, it is accurate. But it looks like it was planned and a done deal because there has been no transparency. No one except those at the March 20th workshop would even know about it. It's been 5 weeks, and those minutes have yet to be made public. And since the meeting was in a conference room, there is no video. Had it not been for a reporter from the Palatka Daily News, it would never have seen the light of day. So how does this look to your constituents? The appearance is that the Board of County Commissioners has decided to grow government and take on the arduous and costly task of mowing the county's hundreds of miles of roads at great expense to the county, including the hiring of more personnel. Now, because I have talked to Mr. Pickens, who did get me a draft copy of those minutes that have not yet been published, and to Mr. Leibel, I was told that economically it was a better deal for the county, that they could do it for less money than contracting the job, and that it has been difficult to find a competent contractor. That information has not been mentioned. None of this is in the open, and the appearance that this was an idea that breezed through the process with no explanation of why is out there. When you spend over $250,000 of money entrusted to you by your constituents, you need to say why. Appearance counts. Transparency is everything.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Ms. Taylor, are you gonna stick around while we discuss those two issues? Because if you don't leave, if you're not gonna stay, then I'm gonna say something now, but I'd really rather do it as part of the two agenda items if you're gonna stay. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Miss Judith York. There you are.
Good morning. Judith York, 142 Drayton Island Road. I have two issues I was to discuss. I'll piggyback right now on the tractor purchase, and I agree with it. I do think, now that I've been working with all of you for quite some time and going over our own issues on other topics, I see that this board right now is very thorough. There's a lot of baggage in the past administration that you've had to deal with. You've had to go through some sloppy paperwork and records, and you have done a great job. You really have. And unfortunately, yes, some transparency hasn't been there. But I did look through your proposal. I saw it online, and now I kind of understand how you piggybacked with that type of program that you have. It looks like the pricing is very favorable for Putnam County. And in my past career in working with utilities, care, custody, and control was always the issue that as a entity you want, and you can control your costs better than you can from a contractor. A lot of times contractors don't fulfill. They say they're going to do it, but you don't have certain controls over their employees where you do have with your own. And you can respond to more emergencies. And the equipment that you're purchasing, where you have the mowers and I believe the deck blades, will allow you to better serve this community where it needs to be. And it's a smaller piece of equipment. It can be transported much quicker than your graders. And again, you can control where you're sending people, and you can still subcontract some of your larger projects. So I really do think it's a good proposal for the county for that purchase on that topic. So that finishes that. On the other issue, you have a proposal for the repairs on the landing. I have to commend Mike Nimitz, has done a great job putting that together. And it looks like it's being built out even better than what we thought to last for our 5 years that we need. I know the vendors are probably going to love it because now they can, hopefully we can maybe even bring a septic tank over, and when the house building's doing, they can bring over their trailers and equipment more and not having to hand move things. But looking through the proposal though, we had discussed before about the pilings that are needed for the new barge that is coming in July 1st or end of June, and I don't see that on the proposal, and that's going to be an essential part of that repair. I do know there was one captain had commented since January. We've commented about that there is a slight damage to the landing. We're not talking, to the slide, not to the top. And the slide is very, very important when they're bringing in that vessel. Just as recently when we had a power outage from the big storm, and Clay Electric came over and served and turned some things on, and the crew and captain were operating their vessel and carrying the trucks over in, Lord, that had to be 15 miles an hour and better winds, and watching that barge come off the landing. Mm-hmm. The landing is so important because as it slides out and then all of a sudden the wind grabs it, you're either going up the river or going down the river. And when you see that as a layman and from the side, you're like thinking to yourself, where are they going? And you've got a boat motor going full force and everyone's scrambling just to make sure that you're going in the right direction and that you don't somehow drift and go too close to shore and could possibly damage somebody's, the Babbitt's dock or the other portion's dock on the other side. It's pretty scary, and I have to commend that crew and captain when they do it. So the extension of the slide is going to be extremely important. It just needs to come out 15 feet, and it has to match the barge that's going to be coming. And she's going to need it to be sliding out in order to get into the channel. At the same time, when you're dealing with coming into high winds, you need that extension so that as you're aiming for that area that you're coming in, and 15 feet can make a big difference. So I don't know if Mr. Nimitz has got a different proposal for that. For the piling requires maybe a different crew, but I don't see that. And of course, this is being all paid by the grant monies. So I'd just like to, as you go into maybe your transportation meeting, that does need to be addressed because timing is of the essence to get those pilings in. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Judith, I spoke with Press about the project yesterday, and Press, didn't you say that you were looking at putting those pilings in at a later date? That'd be possible on both sides? Okay.
The later date, though, being done by July 1st when the new barge comes in? It can't be just pilings. It has to include the slide. It has to include the boards on the slide.
Can you come and address that, Prescott? I know we spoke about it, and I know we've talked about it in a transportation meeting, and I was aware that that there was going to be an extension, that it needed to be done.
Judith, are you going to be at transportation this afternoon?
I can.
Okay, we can discuss it.
Or can we just discuss it
Yeah,
then?
we can discuss it there.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
That's okay, Press.
That would give Press time to look into what he needs to see, and then we can just talk about it this afternoon at transportation workshop.
This is an item on the consent agenda, but what we're doing right now is basically maintenance in kind. We're trying to fix the landings. The timbers are pretty much gone. We're trying to do that, and what we were talking about doing is what other work we can do. We can do this work right now under our DOT grant and get it paid for and fixed to get another 4 to 5 years out of these landings. Once we get the barge in, then we're going to work with the barge captain and see exactly what we need to do. If we have to add another piling or two for her to manage the barge, we can certainly do that. But we're having to do maintenance in kind right now so we don't jeopardize the future DOT landings they're going to put in. So this is an interim. We understand that, but this will buy us the time to get the landings functional until the DOT rebuilds them. I believe it's either 2020 or 2021. They have that money scheduled. They have over $4 million to rebuild both landings.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
In our past meetings, workshop meetings that we've had, the captain has brought that up, and even in the last meeting when you approved the barge, she had stated at that point, you have to do the extension of the slides. It's imperative that you have in order for me to operate that vessel safely. And I don't think the county's going to want any liability if something does happen under high winds, especially emergency repairs or Clay Electric coming open, and all of a sudden you've got a barge running a little too close to somebody's dock and running into somebody else's boat and dock.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Zanny Best. Your name, address, 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Mr. Zenny Best. I live at 200 Hayes Drive in Larchmont, Florida. I'm a resident of Putnam County and have been and will be for the rest of my life. I suffer, and so many of us suffer from people with mental illnesses in this county. I am a consumer advocate for people that don't know how to ask for, don't know where to go, or how to get services. It's so sorely needed. It's a blemish on our entire county. All we need at this point here, with all the work me and Mr. Sharp has done is a director for our center. We have the building, we have the okay from the city, the government, the state rather, everything is in order but a director. I'm here again today asking the commission, everybody in their respective places, to please help us find someone to get the doors open, to get the people out of the woods and into the street, into a place where you get out of the hospital, you have some place to go. You're not put back into the same environment that got you sick, or you're not put in jail for doing something. Jail is not the place for people with mental illnesses. We need help finding a director. We're this close, we can taste it. We don't know how to manage our lives. With the mental illness, people, regular people can't manage their lives. With a psychiatric disability, you have no idea. They closed the hospitals 20 years ago. It cost $150,000 to keep one person patient in the hospital. They did the outpatient, push everybody out of the hospital into outpatient. Everybody's on outpatient now. It costs about $45,000 for outpatient and going back and forth to the doctor to get your medications. It's so complicated. Mental illnesses, denial is a big thing that we work with. The most fascinating thing about mental illness is everyone else will know something is wrong with you but you. And then it takes you, after you figure out that there may be something wrong, then you go into that denial phase. That denial phase is about 1.5 years if you have good people around you. And most of us don't. We're put back out into the same society, same thing that got us sick, we go to jail. We need a clubhouse in Putnam County and Palaca. We have the building. We have the zoning codes and everything covered. All we need is a director to get the doors open. How to manage mental illness, just like any other illness or anything else in our society today. You have to manage it. If you don't know how, you walk around in circles. Like the Israelites, they were given directions. They walked around in a circle for 40 years, and it was a week away from them. If they had followed directions properly, it would take them a week. It took them 40 years. Let us not take us 40 years to get to where we need to be. It's right here. We have the building, we have everything we need but a director. Please, Mr. Lyman, and the rest of your commissioners in your respective places, please give us the time that we need. Find us a director just to get the doors open so we can get the help to the people that need it. My next space on the agenda is the racial study groups. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. People are starting to talk about what's going on, what they think about other racial groups, other racial people, people of different colors, people that speak different languages. We're starting to talk. The police department is, we have some engagements with them. Thank you for the study groups. They are important for our county to grow with the rest of the country. We're ahead of the country as far as this particular issue is concerned, I believe. We sit down, we talk about what goes on in a white person's mind, what goes on in a black person's mind, what goes on in a Chinese person's mind. What's your obstacles? What's my obstacles? What's her obstacles? What's his obstacles? Racial issues are so important with the growth of our country today. And thank you so much, whoever, Mr. Hill is the one I put it all on his shoulders. He brought me to the racial group. It does work. I would ask everyone here to stop in one Monday or one Wednesday evening in Interlachen or Palaca Monday. Stop into the racial study groups just to hear. You don't have to say anything, just to listen to people of other races so that you can see exactly what ground-rooted problems are or issues are in our community so we can grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close that portion and we'll move to our consent agenda. Mr. Lible?
Let's catch up here. I'd like to pull item O.
Mr. Pickens?
I have none.
Mr. Harvey?
I do. Item D and item N and O also. Thank you, Mr. Lyle.
I would like to pull item F. What items did you pull, Commissioner?
H.
D, what?
D, N and O, and Commissioner Lible wants to talk about O also.
Was that B or D?
D, as in dog.
Okay.
Give us a minute, Mr. Chair.
You want to take them in order?
I was, no. I don't know about as much in order. Yeah, let's go down here. Okay, so we have nothing. A, minutes. C is good. Okay, so we have no comments on A, B, and C. Let's move to D.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just a real brief comment, and I want to thank our staff for this. This is properties that have been brought to the county or achieved. I'm not going to say that word right. Achieved to the county. I did get it, and abated. This board has took a bold step, and I really want to commend our board and let the citizens know we don't want to be in the real estate business. These properties are going to be sent back out for sale. Some of these will be, a way for us to abate costs, if you will, out of our general fund. So if someone wants to buy a piece of property that's in abatement and they agree to abate the property and clean it up, it's a cost savings to the county, and we're not spending that taxpayer money on that. This is a huge step in the right direction, and Mr. Suggs and Mr. Manning and Ms. Papel, all of our staff, with the direction of the county commissioners, has really took a big bite out of the apple. You'll start seeing for sale signs that are approved by the Board of County Commissioners to be placed on these properties and get this money back into the general fund without costing the citizens of Putnam County hardly anything, and we appreciate that. So I just wanted to commend our staff and our board for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Any comments on E or F?
Yeah, I pulled F, yes, sir. Commissioners, on item F, it's the SHIP program. When Mr. Teeples came before us at an earlier date, he had recommended a shorter period of time for the loan payback to be finished up. When this came before us the other day, I read it, and if you'll look on page 57 of your agenda, it basically says that it's still at 20-year. With basically it's 30% after 7 years, and then it's 5% through 19th year, remaining 10% forgiven at the end of the 20-year loan. I recommend what Mr. Teeples recommends, which is that we back it up to the same 30% over 5 years, and then 10% a year. So it'd be 30 for another 7 years until it's done. So basically it would move it to 12 years instead of 20 years. So 30% after 5 years, and then 10% a year for the following 7 years instead of 5%.
Commissioner Turner, Mr. Chairman, if I can?
Yes, sir. I've
asked Mr. Teeple if he would come to the podium and give us just a quick overview of the changes in this program, including the explanation of your request. And it was a lot of stuff to read through, and if you're not a mortgage specialist, it was kind of difficult. But Mr. Teeple has a way of getting it simple for us, and that's what we need, sir. Thank you.
It's because I have a simple mind, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, my name is Brian Teeple, Northeast Florida Regional Counsel. In your package, you will see a memorandum from me transmitting the changes to your local housing assistance plan. I'll go through these with you. Please, if you're going to follow along, look at the straight-through and underlined version, because that is the pages that are referenced. They change somewhat when you make the clean copy, which is right behind it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
If I may. Do we need to go through it line item by line item every page? I mean, I actually read it.
Your second page in, we all did, but
Okay.
it would be good. There's a short list right
Okay,
there.
That's
and
fine.
Mr. Teeple.
I'll do whatever y'all want to do. I just want to make sure that Mr. Teeples doesn't think we want him to read every page from front to back of the whole document.
No, a
Okay.
quick highlight, just an overview.
Thank you.
On page 6, you'll notice that there's a clarification of the definition of essential personnel, which really brackets the income limits between 80 and 120% of area median income. That's the change on that page. On page 7, there is an increase in the maximum award from $15,000 to $34,500.
Mr. Teeple, our pages are not numbered like yours are.
Yeah, they are right.
On the right-hand side, sir.
On the right, a little higher.
Oh, yeah, I see them.
Yeah, and he's going right down that list.
Go ahead.
That second page in, Larry.
I got it
See
now.
that little tiny print?
I'm sorry, I didn't print y'all's stuff. I brought my own, and
That's fine.
I apologize. Again, page 7, under the disaster relief strategy, increasing the maximum amount of the award from $15,000 to $34,500, and adding that money spent under $5,000 would be administered as a grant and not a forgivable loan. And it was thought that the small amount of money to administer as a loan just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
If you move on down to page 10, again, we have added that contracts involving only closing costs up to $3,500 again would be administered as a grant. Again, it wasn't thought that that amount of money was worthwhile amortizing over any period of time. Clarify the definition again of essential service personnel, and then move some paragraphs around so you don't get confused. It confused me for a long time, but just to let you know we moved some paragraphs around. On page 10 and 11, bottom of 10, top of 11, clarifies heirs and successors' ability to eligibility and repayment procedures. It wasn't clear before, but again, now it makes it clear that the heirs have to meet the same criteria and provides for payback and a process to delay payment to the county at the request of the heir. If you move on to page 12, again, that same change in the heirs and successors language. Page 13 eliminates references to the Green Initiative, which doesn't exist, as I understand it, any longer. And then page 14, again, provides that in the emergency repair strategy, that contracts under $5,000, again, be administered as a grant and not amortize that as a forgivable loan. And then finally, 16 and 17, which are required statements within your LHAP, change some of the information in there. It really doesn't affect strategies or anything along those lines. It was just update to that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
I have one, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Teeple, the Green Initiative, did that simply just add burdensome expense to the, why did they drop it?
You know, I don't know, and it's been in the plan for as long as I can remember, but it hasn't really been a program for a long time, and I think we just finally recognized that it wasn't out there anymore.
I see.
And took it out. I don't know the history, and I apologize.
It has faded, I agree. I know you don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. No, that was great. That's all I needed.
Mr. Teeple, if I may, Mr. Chair, last time you were here, you mentioned that it would be better to try to go back to a 10 or 12-year payback on the loan, and that would perhaps be part of the presentation that you made to us at this time. Have you changed your mind on that, or have you did it just not get included?
I wanted to, without consensus from the commission, I want to bring to you what your Affordable Housing Committee had presented to you, and I assumed that we would have that discussion at this point in time, Commissioner. No, I haven't changed my mind. Again, the philosophy and the purpose behind an amortization and a payback is to keep people from getting SHIP money and then simply flipping the property and getting a higher price for it. 20 years is on the high side. Most amortization paybacks run in the 15-year kind of a range, oftentimes. And so 20 years is pretty aggressive, and I don't think it would be a problem, and I don't think it would really put the county in any kind of worse position to back that off a little bit. You know, anything above 10 years, you've probably got your money out of what you helped the individual with, and, you know, circumstances change. You know, we're a fluid society, and, you know, we tend to sometimes move someplace.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the SHIP program has always been intended to be more of a hand up than a hand out. I think that during the application process, as well as a 12-year payback term with 30% on 5-year and 10% on the next 7 years, would keep the flippers out, or what he was just referring to, between the application process and the 12-year time period. What happens is a lot of the time, it seems to me, in the SHIP program, the applicants 15 years from now end up having to pay back just a little bit of the loan, and if they bought the thing during a high market or whatever, we actually have to give the money back because there's no money left to give back. We just did it last time he came, I think. So, you know, I would highly recommend that we be compassionate about this, and we try to recognize this program for what it actually is a helping hand, and not make it so critical. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept all the changes that Mr. Teeple has recommended to us today, as well as changing the payback period to a 12-year period, 30% after 5 years, and then 10% a year for the next 7 years.
I'll second it.
Okay, with proper first, proper second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you have some more discussion, Mr. Teeple?
I just had a question for clarification. There is the 20-year amortization both in the home purchase strategy as well as the rehabilitation strategy, and I just was wondering whether your motion covered both of those strategies, because they both.
It was my intention for it to cover both, Mr. Teeple.
Just want to make sure, so when I make the changes, I get it right.
Okay.
I'm good with my second.
I'm good with both, Mr. Pickens.
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, could I ask, was this discussed at all in the committee when they recommended these changes, or no?
I know Kevin Powell's here. I don't remember discussing that.
Okay.
No. There was a number of other strategies and ideas kicked about. I think it was a pretty robust discussion, to be honest with you, but that was not discussed. I do have a further question, Mr. Chairman. Attached to the plan is Exhibit E, which is a required resolution. And I guess my question, maybe through the county attorney, does there need to be a separate vote taken as a required resolution by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation as an attachment?
No, it's all part of the agenda item and includes the resolution.
Okay.
However, I would note that we're going to have to go through and make, if you all vote for those changes, and they all have, we'll have to make some changes in the document itself before it goes out, but those changes will be consistent with whatever the vote is here today.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We still have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion moves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teeple.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item G, and I don't think any of my commissioners pulled that one, but I did want to have Mr. Quinn Romay come up and explain our intent on this purchase.
You're pulling G?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Just for discussion. Good morning.
Good morning. Quinn Romay, Chief Fire and EMS. What this is a replacement ambulance, as we've been doing over the last many years. The ambulances that we're getting are, in my opinion, and what we're actually seeing on the ground, the longevity of the boxes are, they have a lifetime warranty on them. Basically what we're doing is putting into place the vehicles that we can start re-chassing once we get to the point of having all of the units that we need to be able to start that program. And as I'm sure y'all are aware, and that Mr. Lible probably is, with the re-chassis, you're talking a much cheaper thing, because you're using the same box, refurbing it and putting a brand new chassis on it, and you have a new truck. So this is just another one of those final ones we need to get that program in place. We cover over 800 square miles. We've got 8 units, and many of those miles are not on paved roads and not necessarily on a road in some cases. So what we have found, we've tried every unit brand, Chevrolet, Ford, Dodge, you name it, since we've been here. And with the Freightliners, we're seeing the ability to not only overcome some of those challenges, but we, here in Putnam County, everybody knows we've got one hospital. Hospital does a great job, but some of the acute care that is necessary, we have to go outside to either Gainesville, Daytona, Jacksonville, and putting those type miles on the truck, you have to have a vehicle that can mix and match. And also with the amount of area that we have to cover, we have to have an ambulance where we're basically bringing the emergency room to the patient. We're not fortunate enough to have an ambulance like many of our a hospital like many of our surrounding counties on, many street corners. So we have one, and going from Crescent City to Palatka is, roughly 30 miles this one way. So as I have said many times, I would put our EMS personnel highly above any of the others in the state, simply because what we have to do on a daily basis, we've got to be on our A game, and with the equipment that we're asking for.
Okay, and you didn't go to it, but the reason you went to the Braun is because that is a common, that's the common box that we can get now. The other ones are being discontinued. So the parts for this thing are very accessible. And also what I've talked to other staff, we could probably move this box 3 or 4 times to different units as the chassis themselves just basically wore out.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, we've looked at a number of different type vehicles and different vendors. Braun is one of the vendors that makes their box to be re-chassis. You may or may not know, in many of the older units that we have, there's a marine grade plywood floor in the floor itself. We've actually had stretchers go in and hit the pothole where it's just worn out, and then you've got to take the whole truck apart, and that is a routine type thing. So with this type box, it's a all metal box, and it eliminates some of those things that we've traditionally had issues with.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, H, any questions?
No.
Let's move
Good
to
N.
Let's drop to the N. Okay, we have none on I, J, K, L, M, so let's move to N.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tompkins, could I ask you really quick, and I want you to fly at a very high altitude on this one. Since I've been here, it almost seems we can't seem to get out of this project for some reason. So tell me really quickly, it seems like for the past 4 years that I've here, we've dealt with this over and over and over. So really quickly, how can we get out of this thing?
This gets us out of,
Okay.
DOT finally recognized that it was a DOT problem. The actual pipe was not in their easement, it actually went under the gentleman's trailer. DOT then allocated $475,000 of a SCOP grant.
Good.
And what we're doing in the next item O is sister to this, we've worked out an arrangement with the gentleman that owns the property. We're actually going to buy his property from him. He's going to relocate himself to another piece of property that he already has under contract. So therefore, we eliminate that problem. We would then take title to the entire lot, and we have additional monies left over in the SCOP grant to recreate or fix the drainage problem that's there. So this gets us out of it once and for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Might as well stay there.
Yeah.
I'll pull the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I can, Mr. Chair. It was only to commend you and your department on the procurement agreement with this family in lieu of eminent domain, which is very ugly at times. This was done proper. The solution, it will end this merry-go-round we've been on, and the Wellen family is very happy with this arrangement, and thank you, Press, you put together a great deal here.
Thank you. It was a lot of hard work on everybody's part.
Yeah.
A lot of work on my staff's part, and I want to commend them for it. But I believe this is the right way that we've done it, and it's benefits everybody.
Well, the Wellen family is very happy.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can get to our pipe now.
Mr. Chairman, we went through the consent agenda. I make a motion, we approve items A, B, C, D, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, and O.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have proper first, proper second on the agenda items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. All right, now we get to move to item 12.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a request at this point? I would like to talk about item 13 first, because until we know what we're gonna do with 13, 12 doesn't matter.
Yes, sir. I have no
I
problem
don't know
with that.
why we got them backwards.
I guess it's my day in the pickle barrel.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, item 13 is, Commissioner Turner's exactly right. We're asking for approval of 2 additional Kubota tractors. These were purchased, our proposal came off of the Florida Sheriff's contract, which we are a member of. These were competitively bid by the Florida Sheriff's Association and Florida Association of Counties. These 2 tractors, now, let me back up a little bit. We, as Quinn Wormay said, we got over 850 square miles in this county. I have 3 tractors that do mowing. I have 3 tractors that do ditch mowing and boom mowing, which is vertically clearing the sides of the right-of-way. So we have 6 tractors covering this entire county. Right now, to do the mowing, we try to do it 4 times a year. To do that mowing, we're on a 8 to 10 week cycle. If we don't have any hiccups, we don't have a week of bad weather, if we have a lot of rain. Last year, the rain killed us. We couldn't get one road mowed that we didn't have to start over again. We have existing 3 10-foot back wing mowers. We have to make 2 passes on each side of the road to get it properly mowed. With the 15 footers, we can make 1 pass and do it properly. And we have the boom mowers to come out and hit the back sides of the ditches and the bottom of the ditches. These 2 tractors will increase our efficiency tremendously. And we're trying to get to a level of service that, for the residents, that's acceptable. We're not trying to grow government. I mean, and I've said this publicly and I'll say it again, we have a skeleton staff right now. You go in my parking lot right now and you'll see 6 private vehicles of my employees that come to work at this facility. I have another facility in the western part of the county, one in the south part of the county. Same thing, 2 or 3 vehicles. We're on skeleton staffs right now, trying to do the best we can do to meet the level of service that the residents and the commissioners want us to do. And it is very difficult. We had a situation come up, we had a grader operator that's been out for 3 weeks sick. And that put a kink in our motor grading. Hopefully, thank God he came back to work this week and we're trying to get caught back up. Same thing with the graders. I got 7 graders for, 800-900 miles of road in the county. And same thing, we're on an 8 to 10 week cycle on those things. And, we're doing our best with it, but we need the equipment to do the job you want us to do. And we're asking for these additional equipment so we can do that job. And I think we can do a lot better job if we have more equipment and we can cover the area quicker, faster, and get the jobs done that we need to do. And that's why we're asking for this equipment. And yes, we're asking for 2 more employees to run this equipment. I'll be very candid with the board. I wasn't here when we took mowing in-house. What they did was they took 6 of my employees, designated them to the mowing operation, and did not replace them. So I'm down 2 labor crews that went to mowing crews. Now, the labor crews are just as important as the mowing, as we have culverts to replace, ditches to clean, other work that needs to be done, head walls to be built. We got a lot of drainage work needs to be done. That's why I asked for the additional employees to be able to run this equipment and not deplete my existing labor force right now. And, we've done the analysis with it. I know there's been several questions about, is it cheaper to go in-house or contract it out? And I'll make one statement. We are in it for the county for customer service. We're in it to make sure we get it done to level of service that the residents require. Contractors are in it to make money. If they can get by with a half a pass, or if they can go down that road 40 miles an hour and cut it, they're going to do it. And I talked to several of my supervisors that were here when we had it contracted out. They spent a tremendous amount of time going behind the contractor, making sure he was doing what he was supposed to do, when he wasn't doing it, why he wasn't doing it, and spending so much time just following with the contractor, trying to make him do the job he was supposed to do. And so, that's why we're asking for this equipment. I can refer to Mr. Reynolds over there. He has done a cost analysis on it. We still feel like it is comparable to do it in-house. My employees right now, when they're not mowing, they're doing other work for the county. They're either on a labor crew or running some other type of equipment, but they work a 40-hour week, whether they're mowing roadside ditches or boom mowing or laying culverts. They work 40 hours a week. So I would respectfully request the board's approval to buy this equipment to help us get to the level of service we need to be at.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised you didn't bring up how you've been beaten up by every commissioner up here on making sure that this cost was, in the right aspect.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any comments here for press?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Tompkins. I support a pilot program, as you well know. The area that I represent, we represent all of Putnam County, but the MSB roads don't have the same problems that the other roads have. They're under contract by private contractors who grade those roads and who mow those roads. So I don't have the same issues out in some of the area that other commissioners do. And I do applaud Commissioner Turner for thinking out of the box and bringing this to us. So I support a pilot program. I'd like to see that before we enter into major purchases of a lot of equipment. But here's a thought. Right now on Fridays, those tractors that you just referred to are sitting idle. And if those could be put to work, then possibly we could buy maybe a tractor, but we could do that. Again, West Putnam is not going to benefit from this because of the many, many roads. And when you talk about 900 and something miles of dirt roads, West Putnam is probably one of the biggest ones you've got. My other concern is where are you going to get the employees? See, we were told, and I was against it then about buying this equipment and taking it out of the private sector, that we had employees that would easily migrate over and it wasn't going to be an issue. But that's not true. That's not what happened here. And you're saying you're still short 2 crews because they migrated over. Well, that was the decision of the public works director at that time. That, again, that doesn't seem to be truthful. The other thing I've noticed, and I've followed around behind some of the mowers, that at least out in some of my areas, okay? I didn't go down to the south end, I'll tell you that. But at least out in West Putnam and Palaca proper, if you will, most of the people are maintaining their ditches and the ditches in front of their house on their own. So a 15-foot bat wing is still going to be up. You're only going to use 1/2 of that because it's not necessary. I measured some areas. I mean, I really took my tape measure out. By the time they get done weed eating around the sign, by the time the zero turns come down the road, there ain't a whole lot left to cut. Even if there is something to cut, there's not a whole lot left. So I'd like for you to address that because I think that's going to not be beneficial for this area. And the other thing I want to talk about, I do have a legitimate concern that we're growing government. And my thought and my mantra has always been that the private sector can do a better job. I would love to see our government be more privatized than anything. There's private people out there. You weren't here when those mowing contractors were here, but a lot of it, they were set up to fail. And they were promised, hang on just a minute. They were promised a certain amount of cuts a year. Well, you build your profit into those cuts. And then they were saying, no, don't do number 4 cut, or don't do all of number 3 cut. Well, that's not fair to someone who goes out, a business owner, who has that lump in their throat to meet payroll, who hires employees, who goes out and buys the equipment on the good faith that they're going to have a contract that they can fulfill, and then all of a sudden that's taken away from them, or parts of it. You know, that 4th contract very well might be the profit for the entire year. And we all live with contracts. Even in my business, I live with contract. And changing those things midstream caused me great concern, almost financial ruin at times. So I'm just going to say there was some mix-ups there. Had they been allowed to mow in the proper fashion that they were supposed to, it would have been fine. And yeah, there was some problems where they had to go back and remow certain areas, but that's with everything. We deal with that all the time. So those are my concerns. But again, I want to emphasize that I really think a pilot program, and I think Friday access, and if you can find employees Friday and Saturday that could go out and do this, might be beneficial. So if you'll respond to those things.
Okay. First of all, I wasn't here when all this, excuse me, Commissioner.
Commissioner, would you like him to respond to you at this time or respond to all of us at one time?
Yes.
Okay, so do you mind if I mean, I don't want to get on your bad side here.
No. I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Instead of all, I mean, he may want to just respond to all our questions at one time because some of them may offset one another.
Yeah, I yield the floor, so Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Turner.
I'd like to start out by saying a lot of the information that's been going around and the numbers that have been used and the different things in social media and even in some of our workshops and what have you, at very best are just not accurate. Some of the areas in the county, I agree, don't need a tractor and batwing mower on it. And they could probably, some roads are already being mowed with 0 turns only because there is no room. And maybe that was one of the roads that my colleague went out and looked at that may not have a mower on it right now. Anyhow, I don't really know, but if I could, I'd like to go back with a little bit of history on this that I've been digging up because I have caught me some heat over this issue, to say the least, Miss Taylor. To say the least, I've caught some heat on this issue, so I'd like to try to answer some of these questions if I could. The right-of-way mowing was bid in 2014, and it was given to Florida Erosion Barriers. That's who got the job. They bid it for $56,822 per route with 4 routes that year to be done. So they contracted with them for 4 routes. They paid, or 4 passes, whatever you want to call it. The contractor the first year was only paid $93,000. Excuse me, it wasn't because the county didn't ask him to do the rest, it was because he didn't perform. And so the grass around here was a jungle on the sides of the road. Now, I understand in your part of in the county in West Putnam, it's not the same as it is in East Palaca, San Mateo, and South Putnam, and a lot of the other areas. We don't have MSBUs. We don't have MSBU contractors. Somebody's got to mow our grass other than them. So after 2 years of him not performing, they fired him. Whoever he was, whoever owns Florida Erosion Barriers, his contract was terminated. So at that time, the county had no option other than go out for another bid. I'll be the first to admit that maybe that bid wasn't exactly correct. I'll be the first to admit that. But that's what was bid, and it came in at $97,424 for 1 pass, which that made it $389,699 to mow the grass. They bid it out again in zones. They got no bids in zones. So their only option at that point, was to go buy a lawnmower and the 5 commissioners go out and start mowing the grass, or go bring it in-house, or pay $389,000 a year. So they went out in January of 2015. They went out and they bought $246,547 worth of mowing equipment. That included the 0 turns, the 3 tractors. That included the mowing decks, the trailers, the 6 Skag mowers, but it did not include the lease that they had on the 3 boom mowers that was 52.8 more. So basically it was $299, $389 with the lease, $300,000. Now I've been hearing the numbers bandied all around that it's costing us $500,000 a year to mow the grass. That's not an accurate statement. So, so what we did was we went and bought $300,000 counting the equipment, or basically $250,000 worth of equipment, and leased a little bit more. And we mowed the grass for 2 years previous to now, and now for that amount of money, no additional labor, because they didn't give him any more labor. And so basically for that diesel fuel and the equipment, we've mowed the grass for 2 years. Now, I want it to be perfectly known that I'm a champion of trading local. I'm a champion of privatizing everything we can. But I'm also a champion of being physically conservative and not blowing $1 million of the county's money because we want to send it out on the street. And the difference is, if we mow the grass with the equipment we have right now, before we buy this, but we would have spent $1,169,097 is what we would have spent over a 3-year period to mow this grass under the contract amount that was bid, which is $869,000 more money than what today, than $869,097 more money than if the commissioners had sent this out to bid 3 years ago. Now, like I said, I welcome the conversation that we have sometime in the future about seeing if we can figure out a way to make the bid procedure better, the bid procedure more efficient, to meet with local contractors and try to find out what prevented them from bidding this last time around. I'm willing to have that conversation. I'd be tickled to death to have it, because if we could figure out a way to get this outside, I'd be first in line to do it, but not at the cost of costing the county $869,000 over a 3-year term. Now, people say all the time, I hear it all the time, especially if they live in a condo at Hiawatha, county doesn't have a mowing problem. Well, they have. They've had a mowing problem for about 5 years now. They've had a mowing problem, 4 for sure. The 2 years that the contractor was out there and he didn't perform, and the last 2 years, we've had a mowing problem because the commissioners didn't give public service enough equipment to do the job at the level that they would expect a contractor to do it at. And we still got a problem this year. It's coming because I'm telling you right now, the roads last year, all down in South Putnam, were waist high. They looked like a jungle. So I'm just telling you that if we are in the mowing business this year. I am absolutely with Commissioner Harvey, is if we can figure out a way to get this and be responsible, fiduciarily responsible, and get this privatized, I'll be on the bandwagon. But $869,000 over a period of 3 years is not physically responsible. So we've got to do something here to move this out of house at some point. But right now we can't. We've got to mow these roads and get to some level of customer service. So also, another thing that the extra 2 tractors are for, instead of just mowers, is also that we can take those and use them for dual equipment. Because what hasn't been mentioned here, yeah, they might sit around on Friday, and I'm also with my esteemed colleague here that if they could figure out a way to make them run 6 days a week, I'd be for that too if it was absolutely necessary. But what we haven't talked about is they sit all winter, because right now the only thing they do is mow grass and then they sit around. That's why, as part of this deal, that I've requested that we have leveling blades. That way, when we have a rain event, we can go build roads with these things. We can put 5 of these tractors and 5 of these blades on roads after a rain event, and we'll fix them in a week. And all that you get for the bargain price of about $100,000 less than one road grader. One road grader. So you're going to have 5 pieces of equipment that is dual equipment instead of 5 single-use pieces of equipment if we buy the 2 new tractors today. And then you're going to be able to go do roads with them. So a big rain event, instead of just waiting until the road graders can get to it or the grade all can go out there or whatever the case may be, you can actually hook those leveling blades to it, go out for a week, and you got 5 extra pieces of equipment helping with roads. And yeah, your roads won't be mowed, but we had a major rain event. So next week we go back to mowing roads, and we got 5 mowers to keep up with it. 5 15-foot mowers, which is what we need on a lot of the roads. Another thing I agree with Commissioner Harvey is that we don't need a 15-footer on every road, but the multitude of the roads we do. And so if you can take 2/3 of your roads that you need 15-footers on and you only have to make 1 pass, you've just saved the time to make the second pass on every one of them roads, plus the fuel and the labor and everything else. The last thing that I would like to mention is, if I could, is yes, they asked for 69, let me find it here, it is. They asked for $69,882 for additional labor, but that's for next year. So this is going to be absorbed into his budget next year. This year, he's got 5 people that he hadn't been able to hire. I get it. So he's got the labor from 5 people to finish him out for this year. Even if he gets everybody filled and everything else, it's only 5 months left in the year, so there will only be 5 months of this $69,000. So it's misleading how this has to be asked for because it's part of the agenda that will carry forward. Yes, it will be $69,000 in future years, but for right now, it's not. It's only 5 months of the $69,000 minus the attrition that he's had from not being able to fill all his positions. So this year, not so much. Yes, it will be 69 next year. But like I said, I'll finish with just saying one thing. I'm absolutely wanting to have the conversation is can we privatize this? But even if we buy these new tractors today and buy these new mowers today, if we decide to privatize, being ready to do the proper thing and do a level of service that's comparable to what we would expect from someone else, even if we do that today, we can sell these mowers after this mowing season. We can take those tractors and hook those box blades to them, or them leveling blades, excuse me, those leveling blades to them, and go out and fix roads with them. So we're not going to be wasting the money. We're just going to be having 5 pieces of road equipment, if it gets to there, for less money than 1 road grader. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
There you go. Well, you didn't, on the boom mowers, that would have been our responsibility all along, correct?
What the contracts, I wanted to say something too, the 14 contract that we bid, that Commissioner Turner referred to, we actually spec 15-foot batwing mowers in that contract. We did not spec the type of equipment in the 15 contract. We kind of left that open to the contractor. But what we said was that we wanted the contractor to mow the roadsides, the front slope, the bottom of the ditch, and the back slope of the ditches, whichever equipment he wanted to. Now, we bought the boom mowers, or leased them, so we can do the ditch cleaning, but we also do the vertical cleaning along the roadways that was not part of this contract at all. So we've gone above and beyond what we'd asked the mowing contractor to do to meet the level of service that the residents wanted us to meet. Okay. And I agree, we did not talk about what are called the road scrapers, but it does give us dual capability that, particularly after these rain events, we can put these road scrapers on these tractors and go out. We're not cutting ditches, we're not pulling shoulders, but we're smoothing the roads back down to get rid of the potholes, the washboarding, and the washouts. We can do that tremendously faster and get the roads passable again until the motor graders can get there. So I agree, it's a dual purpose that we're doing, that we can do more road grading that we need. And I will agree that we have a lot more mowing in the south part of the county than we do in the western part of the county, and even in the northern part of the county, up in Bostwick and all that area. We've got a lot of roads that we need the 15-footers on. Not every road, I agree with that. We do have the zero turns. We use the inmate crew labor to run the zero turns. They pick up the garbage, they pick up the trash, they pick up the litter, and they run the zero turns, as much as we can ahead of the big mowers to make it more efficient. So I think we're being almost as efficient as we can be. We brought the inmate labor crew contract to y'all several months ago, and I think we showed the savings, labor savings, just by using them of over $200,000 right there. So with the equipment that we furnish to them and the labor they perform with all we're doing, I think we're doing a pretty good economical benefit to the county.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Press a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
We had said something at one time in one of the meetings we had a while back. I had brought up the possibility of just buying 3 15-footers instead of 5, and just utilizing 2 of the 10-footers we have now. And for the board's sake, what we came up with is that's very difficult to do, because you may do 10 roads in a row that you need 15s on, and then you get to the one that's 10 and you fold one up and do the 10. So it's not like we could take the 10s and go mow everywhere with them, because on the ones you need 15 foot, you go back to making 2 loops on all of them again. So that's the reason, I think in one of the meetings or whatever, somebody came up with the idea, well, why not just buy 3 instead of 5 or whatever, and that's the reason why, is if every one of them that you don't buy, you're going to reduce efficiency every 15-footer. So,
okay, Mr. Weibel.
Mr. Tompkins, and as far as the leveling blades, I'd like to hear your opinion and comments on the possibilities of taking our Class B roads and upping that frequency. As you know, we only drag or use the grader on those roads as needed. when it's not passable is the key word. But is it reasonable to think that if the efficiencies we're talking about here are realized, that at some point, can we do an analysis of doing better service on our Class B roads for our residents?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we looked at with this. We have the equipment that we could do, we call Class B or Class 2 roads. We grade those on an as-needed basis, and the key word, you're right, is passable. If it's got a couple potholes in it, a couple things, yeah, and they're still passable, then we're going to maintain our schedule on our Class 1 roads. These tractors would enable us to go to more of our Class 2 roads to grade them after these events and even grade them when they needed to be graded. Right now, we got inundated. As soon as people see a grader in their area, everybody in Class 2 road was calling in saying it's impassable.
Yes, they do.
And so we go check them and see, and a lot of them were still passable, and we had to go by, but we got sidetracked, and I'll be the first to admit it. And we started doing more Class 2 roads, and we could not get our Class 1 roads done. And so this would enable us to do more of the Class 2 roads. And these road scrapers, they're not conventional box blades. Everybody thinks you just drop the box blade and go. These have the capability. They have actually 3 blades in them, more like a farm implement that the farmers use to level fields with. But these are able to be tilted and adjusted to match the road grades. I'm not getting rid of the road crown. I'm keeping the same road crown so the road will work functionally as it's supposed to. We're not taking the crown out of it. But we're not cutting shoulders, we're not cutting ditches, but we're making the roads passable. And this will enable us to do this a lot more frequently and a lot more efficiently.
It's much needed. That's worth supporting right there.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tompkins, I want to make the record clear on something. When this came before the board back in those days, the contractor was called in. His equipment was inspected prior to mowing, and there was some problems with the way our director handled it. And I remember the attorneys cleaning it up for us. So if you want more information, go there and find that out. You can find that out. I'm not going to get, I wasn't privy to all that. I saw what was going on. I was here that day. But that's what, the items that were requested by Public Works to do the job back then was requested by Public Works. It wasn't a commissioner stating that I need more of this and more of that. It wasn't that. And it was, Public Works said to us, this is what we need to do the job with. So now we found out there was some little quirks in there, and yes, my concern again is now we're being told this is what we need to do the job again, just 4 years later. Is this going to be what we need to do the job again? And I think that's one question. The other one is, along the Commissioner Liebel's conversation about Class 2 roads, tell me the plan that we have when we put these on the street. What's our plan? I have yet to see that plan. And we know the MSBU roads, we've got that. We got a plan for those roads. You know, we mow those roads, we grade those roads, we drain those roads, we do things. I want to know the plan for the other ones.
Well, okay, to answer your first question, I wasn't here either.
I know.
Okay, I'll say, we inherited some things that we're trying to clean up. I can tell you that we ran into some problems with some of the equipment that we purchased. I'll be the first to say, I don't think we bought the appropriate equipment. Previously, with the other county I worked at, I had mowing under me, and I saw what we could do with the equipment we had. I've talked to other contractors, I've talked to other counties and what they have purchased. And, you know, I'm not saying we made a mistake, but we could have bought different equipment. But I'm not going to dwell on the past. I'm trying to get to the future that we can provide a level service. We all have made mistakes in the past. I'll make mistakes, I'll be the first to admit it, but I'll try to do my best not to do that. As far as a plan is concerned, what we would do, basically after rain events. We have our 3 area supervisors. They know what roads need to be done we have historic problems with. We know the roads that need to be graded. And so I don't have a written plan right now to give you, but I will assure you that we can go do the roads that need to be done. We pretty much, our 3 zone supervisors have been in for years. They know each zone like the back of their hand. They know a lot of our residents. That we can almost tell you right after it quits raining, the residents is going to call us. I mean, we know them by first name, you know. We can hit those roads now. We don't have the equipment to do anything with it now other than our motor graders. And sometimes it's very difficult to take a 14-foot blade on these graders and get down some of these muddy roads without basically creating more problems than we're trying to cure. These smaller tractors, we can pull these leveling blades, we can smooth them back down and keep on going. And then once we get our Class 1 roads done, then we'll have time to drop back and get our Class 2 roads done. Yeah. And I'll say this, I'd love to pave every road in this county, but I haven't hit the lottery yet, and the county hasn't hit the lottery yet. But
I don't think there'd be enough money if you hit the lottery to do all of them.
Mr. Chairman?
But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pickens.
I just have a comment and then a couple of questions. I was at one of the transportation meetings when they were going to let the contractor go. It was when I was just a citizen before I got elected county commissioner. And I know the mowing wasn't going well because I started hearing complaints even before I decided to run about the roads and mainly the mowing. But those are 2 of the biggest complaints that I get as a commissioner in South Putnam is when are you going to come take care of my road, and what about the mowing on the side of the road? So anyway, listening to the figures at the transportation meeting, it looked like there was no other decision than for the county to go into the mowing business. And I don't think any of the commissioners at the time wanted to go into the mowing business, but that's what they had to do. So we are in the mowing business. I do think that I appreciate Commissioner Turner's work on this, and I appreciate all the commissioners' input on this because this is a very important decision. But I think what we're looking at doing is enhancing a service that we are in and that we are providing. And I think that the purchase of this equipment from the extra tractors and also to the mowing units and the leveling blades, not a box blade, but a leveling blade, will enhance the services that we're trying to provide at the best value, the best cost for our citizens. And am I a proponent for sending this out to a private contractor? Yes, I'm an independent businessman just like everybody sitting up here today. And I think that's the way we need to move. But right now, I think that we need to seriously consider this. One question that I have, Press, and I spoke to Commissioner Jeb Smith from St. Johns County, and I understand that St. Johns County mows in-house, right?
yes, they do.
And I also asked him if he was familiar with leveling blades, and he said he was, but they have less than 15 miles of dirt roads in St. Johns County, so they don't have the problem.
They got 6.2
And I think he said he only had about 5 miles, and I couldn't believe it.
15?
It wasn't very many.
Reckon we can sell him some?
Exactly, so, but I do have a couple of questions on the equipment. Is the Kubota equipment holding up? Because I know some farmers are John Deere people. They actually use Challenger tractors, which is from Caterpillar.
Right.
So you've had experience with both. And then the time frame, I know we're on a certain cycle if everything goes according to plan on grading the number 1s and then the availability to get to the number 2s. And then on mowing, I know you've put some numbers together to see how this you think will enhance it if we're on an 8-week cycle down to a 6-week or a 5-week cycle, and do you have that information?
Yes, sir. We're actually trying to get down to pretty close to a 4-week cycle if we could. That's our goal. And yeah, St. Johns County, we did the mowing in-house, and they used the Challenger tractors, which is ring power. That's what we bought for our boom mowers. We bought the Challenger tractors. I believe I think we had bought the Diamond brand boom mowers that sit on the side of the tractor. We went through the same analysis, St. Johns County. We got beat up all the heck about the same thing. Why are we doing mowing? Why are we doing mowing? And we did the analysis, we took bids on it, and it still was level of service we needed to provide, because St. Johns County is very unique. They have the northwest, northeast part of the county is very urbanized. You get down to Hastings, the middle part of the county, down to Hastings is very rural. What we did was we did put out what we called a small mowing contract for the urbanized areas where the contractor uses zero turns to mow basically the subdivisions and those type of streets up there. We did have problems with that. Last 3 years I was there, we ran out of money on the small mowing contract, trying to keep up with those roads. We did very well with the batwing mowers. We had the 15-foot bush hogs. We have all those roads in Hastings and everywhere else, long roads we got to maintain that the state so graciously gave us back in the 60s and 70s to maintain. So we did that, and we did this analysis several times, and it came out, excuse me, that it was cheaper, level service was better, doing it in-house. And same thing, when the boys weren't mowing, they were on the labor crews, or they were running a dump truck, or they were running another piece of equipment. But we didn't sit idle. And we actually had a mowing manager over there that his job was to keep the mowers running, keep them on schedule. They could change minor parts in the field. They could put new blades on. If a chain came off or a belt got slipped or something, he had the equipment right there to fix it on site. And I'll say this, one of the other things we did was we did herbicide spraying, which was a tremendous help. And I'm trying to get that initiated here, and that was part of the contract. If you read the contract we did, that we had requested the contract to do herbicide spraying, and they didn't even want to bid on that part because they didn't want have to hire the people to do that. They just wanted to just put the mower deck down and go. There's things we can do to enhance it. I believe the herbicide spraying, and talk to every farm around here. Every one of them use herbicide spraying in their ditches right now. Mike Revels, can't think of the other ones, but all of them do it to keep the ditch, to keep the growth down, ditches to keep the water flowing. So I think the equipment that we're buying is good equipment. We have not had any problems with the tractors themselves. The Kubota tractors have functioned very well. Other than the normal wear and tear and maintenance that we would have on them, we haven't had any major problems at all with the tractors. We had problems with the mower decks. These were not heavy-duty mower decks designed for roadside mowing. They were originally designed for the guy that's got a 10 or 20 acre horse field, and he goes out once a month and mows a horse field. They would do great. But these mowers take a lot of abuse roadside mowing. The new ones, the 15-foot footer, are the most heavy duty they make. I did compare the specs of these mower decks to the bush hog mower decks. I found little or no difference in the specifications. The deck thickness, the steel and all that was the same. In fact, the warranty was just a little bit better on the Land Pride mower decks that we're getting. And I did talk to the supplier. He says that they haven't had any trouble with some other large mowing contractors that are using the 15-footers. They haven't had any service calls on them other than just normal wear and tear and changing blades and that kind of stuff. So I believe we are getting the right equipment. Like I said, we have not had any problems with the tractors themselves. They have functioned very well for the time we use it. And I'll answer this, Commissioner Harvey, about we went to the 40-hour, 4 10-hour days. Our production has increased significantly. Yes, the equipment is sitting on Friday. I do have boys that said they would love to work overtime and come in and work Friday or Saturday, but I don't have an overtime budget for them. We do have a crew that comes in that works Friday. They're off Monday, but they work Friday. We call them a response crew because they're here to help if anything comes up. They have normal duties they do, normal work that they do, but if there's something that comes up on a Friday I need them for, I have them here to respond to it. I don't have to call a crew in and pay them overtime. That has worked very well for us. I don't know if we could stagger crews, have them work, have mowers work, Tuesday through Friday, their 40-hour week, and have the equipment, but then we're putting more wear and tear on the equipment too. So it's kind of a trade-off on that, but there's certain certain things we can look at if that's desirable by the board, and we could, have some of the mowers working Tuesday through Friday, so they're working continuously. But I do think overall, and I agree with you, I was a businessman, private practice before I came into government work. Believe me, I know what it's like to be on that treadmill to make payroll every week. It's not something you want to get, it's hard to do at times. And I agree with privatizing work if they can provide a level of service. And sometimes that's very difficult to do on the private sector. As I said, as you said, Commissioner, they're in it to make money. They have to meet that payroll every week. Now, we have to meet the same payroll, but we're in it to satisfy our customers, our clients, our residents, that we're doing the work they want done to the level they want it done. And there's a little bit of difference in meeting that type of expectation rather than, man, I got to mow that road, I got to get it done in 14 hours or 10 hours for me to make any money. And I understand that difference, but anyway, I think I've talked too much, but
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one last comment. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the decision of the Board of County Commissioners back then was not to mow the backside of the ditch, because what happened is they were getting in the ditch and it was so wet they were just tearing up the ditches. So that's why, and the calls I was getting had nothing to do with the backside of the ditches. They had, the grass is too high on the side of the road. The backside of the ditch was not a concern. So, and that was just, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Lyman? Oh, I thought you had a question.
You gave us no breaks this morning, so you need to hurry this meeting.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to make quickly that I took the math and I talked to Mr. Bill, and I got a lot of taking into the cost, doing a depreciation on the equipment, taking in all the maintenance, and I exaggerated a lot of the maintenance, because I exaggerated on purpose because I felt like county employees might tear up more equipment. I exaggerated it, and I did come up with the number that we had at one time for the contract, to contract it out, and what it's going to cost us now. They weren't really that far out of whack. They were pretty, in my numbers, they were pretty close. Where they went out of whack was the 5th or the 6th mowing, which is something that we would have to provide as a service to our people no matter what. But if we're asking a contractor, he's going to have to charge us for that 5th or the 6th. And that's where I really saw it. And that wasn't, the other thing was the blades. That is a major thing. We have these storms and everybody's road is a mess. We have so many dirt roads. They're all a mess. Now you've got 5 tractors that you can put out there, at least so we don't lose, an SUV in a hole. So the numbers did come out all right. I was a little concerned to start with, but I pushed a lot of numbers, and
I think we've all pushed the same numbers.
Well, we got to be conservative. We don't want to be just throwing money out there or growing our government. So, all right,
Mr.
gentlemen.
Chairman, I move on item number 13. If you don't mind, I'd like to go 13 first, or either do them together, whichever you prefer.
I'd almost at this point think we can do 12 and 13 together.
Look at council.
I move that we approve the request from Public Works on item 12 and 13.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper first, a proper second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion moves.
I'm opposed.
Okay. All those opposed,
I am.
say they're opposed.
But I do want to commend Commissioner Turner on the hard work and thinking outside the box. I think he's done a great job. Thank you, Commissioner Turner.
Thank you.
And I want to thank the board very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is Clerk of Courts Mr. Kenny Downs.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Smith is on a well-deserved vacation. Said he's sorry he couldn't be here, but we don't have anything today.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it. All right, and so now we've already done our public hearing. We're going to appointments. Do we have any appointments?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none today, Mr. Chairman.
Have none. I know these people are in a hurry. We'll go to our county administrator.
You do have.
Yes, sir. I'm just handed a letter from our county attorney. We do have to start working on getting our appointment for our Value Adjustment Board. It's a requirement by Florida Statute 194.015. It's a request that comes from our, I believe it's Mr. Smith's office via the property appraiser's office. So we need to try to get some folks appointed to that committee, I believe rather ASAP, if that's correct, Mr. Manning?
Who was on it last time?
That I don't know, sir.
Oh, you too? Okay.
And I really enjoyed it.
I was gonna say, I don't mind being on it. I'm very well, but I know
Well,
the
do you
property
need
appraiser.
this done by motion because they're at-large two board members, or did they just agree to do it, or?
Well,
Agree.
Okay.
but Mr. Chair, just for edification, there's Value Adjustment Board 3 appointments, 2 board members who own homesteaded property within the county, and 1 citizen who owns homesteaded property within the county and is not a member or employee of any taxing authority and may not represent property owners in any administrative or judicial review of property taxes.
You knew who that was last time,
Judd
Mr.
Newfold.
Chairman? Who,
Mr.
Judd?
Newfold.
Wonder if Mr. Newfold would be willing to do that again and just carry the adjustment board forward to this year. I mean, if y'all both agree to do it.
We're willing.
Mr. Pickens or Mr. Lible, do y'all wanna serve on it real bad or something?
In the past, Commissioner Turner, out of respect for those running for office,
That's what I was thinking.
we kind of volunteered folks without a race that time of need to serve on the boards, because it can be contentious. It's not been in the last few years. It's been run very well, and but I've seen it when it wasn't. So that's all.
That's, what you're saying is you think that Mr. Goddard and Mr. Pickens might ought to do that.
I thought that's what I was feeling over here.
There's not a lot of choices left. Well.
Yeah, it's an odd gubernatorial election year where we have 3 commissioners running, when normally it would be 2.
That's right.
So,
Okay, well, do they just volunteer? Is that what they do?
It's a board appointment, so it'll be by motion.
Mr. Pickens, are you gonna throw something at me if I ask you, or did you volunteer?
I'll shield you.
Not while the camera's on.
Not while the camera's on.
Okay, well, do we want to ask Judd, does he wanna do it again, and
I think we should ask him, yes.
Yeah, but
did
today
we
we can.
appoint him upon his, saying that he would accept, or no? Don't you have to have this pretty quick?
Yeah, I don't, when is our first meeting?
I'm not sure when Sarah will schedule the organizational meeting. It's usually sometime in May. But just for clarification, Tom Townsend was our representative. Newfeld was for the school district.
Oh, I
Thank
thought
you. You're right.
We actually have
Thank
two
you.
citizen representatives, one from the school district, one from the county.
2 from the county, isn't it?
The county representative last year.
It's 2 at-large members from the county.
No, it's 2 board members and 1 citizen.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's what it says on my agenda. If that's incorrect, we'll have to address that.
Might check into that.
Yes, sir, will do.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Okay, so we have another, well, this is the last meeting in April, so this needs to be done by the next meeting in May.
Well, the next meeting in May is May 8th, so,
Okay, does that give the time that they need to do their organization and what have you? I mean, from somebody who actually has
Work
been
around
here
it.
before? Okay, okay.
So you want to make the motion? Or you fixing it?
They said that all they had to do was volunteers,
Now,
what?
Mr. Manning.
now we
said
need a motion to appoint the 2 board
Yeah, it has to be
members.
appointed
I
by.
move that Commissioner Pickens and Commissioner Goddard be appointed to the Value Adjustment Board.
Second.
Okay, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and then you'll,
Not two of them.
and then you'll talk to the other individual. Somebody will before next meeting?
Yes, would the administrator please call, Judd Newfeld before the Tom Townsend, excuse me,
Will do.
to see if he wants to carry forward. If that suits the other
Yes,
commissioners.
that suits. All right, anything else there, Mr. Suggs?
Just under my comments, it's just, we've got the meeting here on Friday with the folks that presented us today with the book building the vibrant community. That's gonna be here Friday morning, I think, starting sometime around 9 and then sometime around noon.
That's the 4th.
Or 4th, yes.
Yeah.
That's Friday. I believe that's correct, is it not?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yes, Friday the 4th, May 4th.
Right.
And then Saturday, May 5th, I'm in contact with Congressman Yoho's office, who's putting together a workshop for Putnam County. I'd like to offer them up the use of our commission chambers here for that Saturday morning. They said they'll need room for about 180, 200 people.
What day is that?
That's Saturday, May 5th.
May 5th.
So we'll, with consensus of the board, we'll make that available to them, and we'll work on the logistics of that if they so choose to use our chambers here.
Mr. Suggs, like Mr. Pickens, I will not be able to attend that weekend. Those are big graduation days for
Yes.
schools. And not to mention the mug race that morning.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
it is.
There's a lot going on that day.
Well, and I'm glad to hear that, so I'll reach out to the congressman, let him know that. There might be a change of dates, I don't know. Just received the email this past week and wanted to talk to you folks about it, so.
Mayor Berkowitz' funeral is that day, too.
Sir?
What day is that?
Mayor Berkowitz' funeral
What's that date?
On May 5th?
It is. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
It
Okay,
is.
so I'll take that back. I will. And also just wanted to say that the Project Putnam, as our support for that project moves forward, we just completed the first quarterly report to Congressman Yoho's office on behalf of Putnam County and the projects that we were working on. We got an email back that said our list and information that we included looked very good, and they were excited about putting our portion of the report into the plan. I have not yet received a draft of that report. As soon as I do, I'll forward that out to all the commissioners. But that's what we're dealing with right now. Don't forget, we just kicked off budget a couple weeks ago, so we will be moving through the process of putting together what we hope to be a very exciting budget for you folks in the next few months.
Exciting, I love it.
And thanks staff for all that they've done, and as you can see here this morning, it took about 15 or 20 minutes to do what we did, but I think it is one of the best things that we can do for our staff is to publicly recognize them and thank them for what they do. You see the excitement on their face, and you see the look that they do a great job, and we should respect that and thank them every opportunity we get. Thank you all for your service.
I was hoping you'd tell us you was almost done with the budget.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say I was too, but.
Mr. Manning?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, I have to announce, this is required statutorily, that I need 2 executive sessions with the board. Executive sessions are closed sessions where a court reporter is present, and that is to discuss litigation strategy. The first executive session is for the matter of Melissa Cooper and Cooper's Closet versus Putnam County. I have that scheduled for this afternoon at 2:05. What we will do is open the transportation meeting at 2 o'clock. Can do the invocation, the pledge, whatnot, and then go ahead and recess that. Everybody will be asked to leave the room except for the 5 of you all, the administrator, myself, and a court reporter. We will discuss that litigation. That will be recorded by a court reporter, and then we will go ahead and close that, and then you can reopen the transportation meeting. The second one that I need to announce, we will need to have, we're looking at May 8th, and that is to discuss a workers' compensation claim with an ex-employee by the name of Gregory Rogers. We'll go ahead and get that advertised once we have some further information, but I needed to announce that on the record during this open meeting that we will be having those 2 executive sessions coming up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
why May 8th? Do we have that much time to wait on a comp lawsuit?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Manning, do you have anything else?
That's it.
All right. All right, we'll start with Mr. Turner.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start out by saying that I think that what we did today is going to turn out to be a more efficient way to run, and in the long run is going to actually make things cost less. But I also want to say that I was truly meaningful when I said that I want to have the conversation about, can we take some of this mowing outside? I want to have that. I think the first thing, and one thing to keep in mind, is that our mowers that we bought are zero-turn mowers. This will be their third year. They don't last as long as Kubota tractors and heavy-duty motor decks and things like that. So by this time next year, I would expect to be hearing from Public Works that they need another set of zero-turn mowers. And if they do, it might be that we could try and identify areas that Commissioner Harvey was referring to earlier where there's just not a lot of road to do, and if there's a whole area that's that way, maybe we can identify that area and put that contract out for bid, just like we did the mowing contract for the courthouse and all the facilities, which last month we let that contract to an outside firm because it was in the best interest of the county and probably for less money, and what Public Works would go around and do all that. So anyhow, I welcome that discussion when it comes time. I would also like to join with Administrator Suggs, and if anybody that needs to come to that Quint Studer thing on that day, I think that's an opportunity that we do not need to pass up. And it would be much better if the room was full than for somebody that out of the goodness of his heart and the friendship with one of our residents, that he had close ties to one of our residents, that he comes in and then we don't show up and fill up the room. I think that would be a crying shame, and I don't want to say that, well, I just think it would be a shame if we didn't care any more about our community than we show up for somebody that's in that event. I'd also, Administrator Suggs is probably going to dart me with his pen when I bring this up, but I might be packing, you better watch out. About a month or so ago, we found out about the chance to become an opportunity zone for Putnam County. There was in our area, and I hope Matt will help me if I mess up here. I found out about it on a Thursday morning. We had until Friday afternoon, maybe it was Wednesday evening. We had until Friday afternoon to turn this stuff in. To turn in the paperwork. So Administrator Suggs was gone, so Matt put his shoulder to the wheel and got the paperwork turned in and got us included. We asked for 8 opportunity zones. Bobby Payne and Miss Leota got on board with us and did everything in their power to push the governor to approve the opportunity zones. I think we had 8 of them that made it to the final pick, and then we ended up getting 3 that go to Washington to be approved. So I don't think anything's final or approved yet, but we have 3 in the final bunch that was sent to the Department of Treasury, I think, for final approval. So anyhow, I just thought that I wanted to give kudos to Matt this morning for jumping on board and helping with that at a last minute notice, and Leota and Bobby Payne for the same, for jumping on and helping us get something done in a 2-day period that should have had 3 weeks to do it. So for that, I wanted to say thank you, and also wanted to say that I attended an art show at the Bronson House on Friday night that was real nice. if y'all ever get the opportunity in the future to do that, you can do it. They'll even give you a little glass of champagne if you drink that stuff. And we had a plant sale on Saturday that I went to at the fairgrounds. It was also very nice, so just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make it really quick and brief today. The Save Rodman Bass Tournament was last weekend. 101 boats were out there. People started getting there at 2:30 in the morning to go fishing. I just can't understand that one, but they stay until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Fishermen are just different, I guess. But I do want to say that it was a great turnout, and for all those of you who supported through your prizes, the fishermen really appreciated it. And I just want to mention this. I know you get emails from people throughout the state about, partial restoration of the reservoir. I'll just go on record and say this. It's kind of like the chicken and the pig go for breakfast. Well, the chicken makes the contribution, but the pig gives his life for it. Partial restoration is not an option out there. It's 21 billion gallons of fresh water that we can drink if we need to. And I tell you, when people call it a cesspool and you see two otters playing there on Friday night when you're setting up and on Saturday morning after the boats leave, and you see all the bass that are brought into that place and caught out of there, it's not a cesspool, folks. It's a thriving environment that happens out there on a watershed that we desperately need. And what really bothers me is when you hear about Everglades restoration and they're going to be building reservoirs down there, but yet they want to tear ours down. And I tell you, there was people from minority status out there fishing for substance that day. They weren't fishing for sport. They were out there fishing for their meal. And without that, it's going to be a lot harder for that. So I just wanted to say thank you all for your participation, and Save Rodman. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lible?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I spent last Saturday from March for Babies, formerly known as March of Dimes. This community, as usual, stepped up and met a goal of $70,000 in contributions to the March for Babies. Very, very nice deal. We're known for that, and we're supposed to be the poor rural county, but when it comes to contributions, you would never know we're the king, the champion of it all. This Saturday, I want to encourage everybody to come out and experience the current blueberry harvest and crop that's going on in the way of attending the BOCC Blueberry Festival. We will have blueberry pancakes like no others. About 250 blueberry pies will be up, and blueberries themselves will be up for sale. And a bumper crop of vendors will be there. It's probably going to be, without a doubt, the best blueberry festival yet in history. So please come out and join us for the BOCC Blueberry Festival this Saturday morning. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Pickens?
Thank you, Chip. Aren't you the chairman of the March of Dimes?
I will be this coming year.
Next year.
I will lead that effort, and hopefully we'll beat $70,000 when I get that big check from you, Mr. Pickens. We'll go over.
All right. Thank you. Just a couple of things. A lot of things going on in Putnam County last weekend. I spent most of my day. Putnam County celebrated Earth Day along with the rest of the country at the Duns Creek State Park. I want to compliment Sam Carr for his efforts and the Friends of the Duns Creek State Park for their efforts to set up. There were about 10 booths there and presenters, and they asked me to say a few words at the beginning to kick it off. It lasted from 10 in the morning until 5 p.m., and I left at about 1:30, and 150 people had come through the gate, so it was a successful event. They also had pontoon boat tours on Duns Creek, which was unique for a lot of people who haven't gotten out on the river before. So, and the second thing, on a sadder note, it was in the paper today, but most of you know that Mayor John Berquist, Mayor of Pomona Park, lost his battle with cancer. From what I know of John, meeting him, he was a champion for Putnam County, for Pomona Park, South Putnam, and he was just a class act. So if you keep his family and thoughts in your prayers, I would appreciate it. There will be a celebration of his life at 2 p.m. at the Pomona Park Community Center, which is right where the fire station is, and if you want to attend that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you didn't get to meet him, he was a very unique man and quite always joyful, and he made some very good French toast. I'm not a big fan of French toast, but he always he made the on the first Saturday they would always have a community breakfast down there. I just want to say we are so fortunate to live in this county. There's something going on every weekend somewhere. Just get in your car, or for me, I jump in the Jeep and go out and go down these dirt roads that we have. But it's just, we're very fortunate. We live in a great community. We really do. With that, our meeting's adjourned.